A witness has come forward and said that Daniel Penny, the subway Samaritan, is a hero because they were all terrified for their lives until he intervened to save them. And I think this context is important. They're saying the charges should be dropped. It's particularly important because the New York Times is arguing that the passengers should have intervened to stop Daniel Penny, to protect the man who was victimizing them. And in fact, they say several protesters are demanding the incarceration and insisting on the culpability of the passengers as perpetrators, saying that because they did not do anything to stop this, they were guilty. So not only are they outright saying if you defend yourself, you go to jail, they're saying if you cower in fear as someone else defends themselves, they're going to lock you up too. We got that plus another amazing story out of New York. You may have seen this because the video got 40 million views over the weekend. A hospital worker accused of being a racist Karen who was trying to steal a city bike, which is one of those bike sharing things, from a young black teenager. The only problem is it turns out she had a receipt for the bike. And the real story is this white hospital worker who was 6 months pregnant was having her bike stolen by a group of young black teenagers. That seems to be the case considering the evidence presented and published showing she actually had the receipt for the bike and they were trying to take it from her. Yet Ben Crump and all of these activists came out and said that she was a racist Karen. Well, her uncle has launched a GoFundMe to support her. So we're going to talk a lot about self-defense and criminal justice because we also have Sam Britton. Remember that guy who was stealing all the luggage? He has been arrested as a fugitive from justice, from the Biden administration to jail. So we got a lot to go over. But before we get started, my friends, head over to castbrew.com, click the link in the description below, and join the Cast Brew Coffee Club. And you will get 3 bags of our signature Cast Brew coffee. Supporting Cast Brew Coffee, it's our company. We're sponsoring ourselves. If you like the work we do and you like coffee, then buy from us. We've got Keurig cups, K-cups, or whatever. I don't know what you're supposed to call them. Maybe you're not supposed to say Keurig or something. K-cups, they call them, that will be rolling out in the next couple of weeks. So I'll say this. If you guys have a coffee shop, if you have a convenience store, if you buy coffee for your office, buy from us and support companies that don't hate you because we are using these resources. We are using the funds from Casper to launch coffee shops. The first one's currently under construction. A lot of work has to be done in building a cafe, but we want to set up these cultural hubs all over the country, in cities everywhere, so that people can come in for coffee and they can bask in culture that is good. Watching on our TV screens in our cafes, shows like Crowder and Timcast and Viva and Barnes and things like that. So again, castbrew.com, but don't forget to head over to timcast.com and click join us to become a member, and you'll get access to uncensored members-only shows. We're going to have one for you tonight at about 10 p.m. on the front page of timcast.com. And as a member, if you've been a member for at least 6 months or you sign up at the $25 level, you can submit questions and even call into the show. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us tonight to talk about this and a whole lot more is Colby Covington.
Thanks, Tim, for having me. It's an honor, man. My mom's a big fan. She subscribed to your channel years ago. So, you know, she besides the fact that you're incredibly smart and an intellectual, you know, she's a huge fan of your coffee. So she's always ordering your coffee. I'm sure if I could get some coffee today, it would make her dreams come true.
Right on, man. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And everybody knows who you are, but you want to give a brief introduction?
Okay, so, you know, I'm a UFC fighter, you know, UFC champion, Donald Trump's favorite fighter, the people's champion, America's champion, the king of Miami. So I got a lot of titles that I've won in my days fighting in the UFC. And, you know, now I'm a full-time patriot fighting for the conservative movement. Right
on, man. Thanks for hanging out. We're honored to have you.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Right on. We got Seamus hanging out.
My name is Seamus Coughlin. I make cartoons at a YouTube channel called Freedom Tunes. We just uploaded one today on the fact that men get periods now. So if you guys want to go over there, check that out. I think you'll enjoy it.
How you doing, everybody? I am Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of All That Remains, anti-communist and counter-revolutionary.
Ian's missing.
Yeah,
he's just gone.
We literally we're looking for him everywhere. I've literally checked everywhere in the house.
Yeah. He's probably just sleeping.
Yeah.
Have you asked?
Have you looked in his room?
Well, that's an invasion of his privacy. I'm not going to go in there.
Point, yeah.
I don't want to knock in case he's napping or something.
That's fair.
That'd be a really long nap, but I'm Serge.com. I'm ready to start whenever you guys are. So,
all right, let's jump into this first story. We have this from Fox News. Witness to Jordan Neely chokehold death calls Daniel Penny a hero. NYC passenger says Marine vet cared for people, and that is his crime. The funny thing is that's literally a crime these days.
Yeah.
Caring for others in New York City, especially. They say a retiree who witnessed the fatal choking incident called Daniel Penny a hero and slammed Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg for prosecuting him. He's a hero, said the passenger. The witness, who described herself as a woman of color, said it was wrong for Bragg to charge Penny. It was self-defense, and I believe in my heart that he saved a lot of people that day that could have gotten hurt. You know, I want to point out too, when we look at this video and we hear the story of Jordan Neely threatening to hurt people, I don't know about you guys, but I kind of feel like I'm probably underestimating how serious it was. Like, it's not just some guy threatening people. I'm willing to bet it's more serious than anybody believes. Like, he was getting up in someone's face or coming at somebody or doing like a flinch. You know, it's like take like a feint shot at him to try and get him. You know, something was more than just him yelling.
Well, yeah, I mean, because people on the subway are thanking him. There's footage of people thanking him after it occurred. I haven't seen anything about anyone who was on that train car coming out and saying he went too far and shouldn't have done this.
I've heard nothing at all about
Nothing.
from anyone that was on the train car actually complaining. Nobody has said anything negative. And
They're calling him a hero.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine why there would be protesters saying that the people that were on the train that didn't stop the Marine, I forget his name, the Marine from Penny from restraining Jordan, like they're asking, they're saying that the other people should be punished for not doing what they're literally punishing Penny for right now.
Well, this is hilarious, right? Because here's what would happen. If they could go back in time, if they had a time machine, they go back in time, and then they stop him from putting the assailant in a chokehold, and then everyone gets charged for not stopping them from putting him in a chokehold, for putting him in a chokehold, and then it's just a chain of everyone putting him in a chokehold and everyone going into jail for putting him in a chokehold.
New York is finished.
Colby, have you seen the video about what happened with this Marine?
I haven't seen the video, but I've heard some of the reports about it, and you know, it's disgusting. Daniel Penny is a hero. He's a good Samaritan. Obviously, everybody on the train felt threatened by that Jordan Neely. So, I mean, look at Jordan Neely's past. I mean, didn't he like rape a kid or like kidnap some kid?
Yeah,
I
like
mean, he's a multiple-time felon.
He was arrested several times. He punched an old man and an old woman in the face on different occasions. He was arrested like 40 times or something? But I'm curious. I guess I'm trying to ask you because I think out of anybody in the room, you're the only one who has any expertise in fighting.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, I don't know, like, is there concern for you knowing how to actually fight? I guess the argument we've heard from the left is what Jordan Neely didn't warrant choking him to death. And my response was, I don't think Penny was trying to choke him to death. I think he was trying to stop him. So I guess I don't know enough about fighting to know where that line is or like what you think about what is acceptable in terms of subduing somebody.
Yeah, he was obviously trying to subdue him, and there's no way anybody could have thought he was going to kill him by just, removing his conscious, by choking him out. It happens in the UFC all the time. Guys get rear naked choked, they go to sleep, and then they wake up. So there must be some type of cause in the Jordan Neely that caused that death. I don't think it was just by natural causes from a chokehold. I think there's some extracurricular activity going on. Maybe he was doing drugs, maybe some other things.
That's actually what a lot of people think.
Yeah.
Because he afterwards... Penny puts him in the recovery position and the other passengers, and then he was still moving and breathing. And then they bring him to the hospital and he died. I guess it was like on the way there or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, regardless, this guy was acting in defense of the other people on the train. He didn't just go out of his way to choke this dude out for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, look, no matter how people wanted to spin the interaction, Jordan was being restrained. Like, Perry wasn't aggressively attacking him. That's not what anyone saw. They looked at if you look at the video, they were trying to restrain Jordan, trying to hold his hands, trying to prevent him from hurting someone else. They weren't on him smashing his head.
Exactly.
They weren't beating him. That wasn't an aggressive fight. That was trying to prevent him from being aggressive against other people. Yeah. You know what it looks like when someone's aggressively trying to punch someone, It doesn't look like he was trying to hurt him.
That's what I'm saying. This guy was a Marine. If he wanted to just savagely beat this guy to death, it would have looked very different. It would have looked very different.
Check this out. So the witness account from this woman, she's in her 60s. She said, I'm sitting on the train reading my book, and all of a sudden I hear someone spewing this rhetoric. He said, I don't care if I have to kill an F. I will go to jail. I'll take a bullet, recalled the woman, who's in her 60s. The terrified passengers crowded towards the exit doors. I'm looking at where we are in the tube. in the sardine can, and I'm like, okay, we're between stations. There's nowhere we can go. The people on the train, we were scared. We were scared for our lives. Penny stepped in when Neely started using the word kill and bullet. Why in the world did you take a bullet? Why? You don't take a bullet because you snatched something from somebody's hand. You take it for violence. The witness said it was clear to her that Penny waited until the last minute to intervene for the sake of his fellow passengers. She heard a thump when he dragged Neely to the ground, but couldn't clearly see until the doors opened at the Broadway Lafayette station, and most of the passengers exited. The witness waited for police to arrive to provide a statement. Mr. Penny cared for people. That's what he did. That is his crime, she told Fox News Digital after the altercation. She and at least 3 other passengers thanked him. Damn, that's amazing. Nobody wants to kill anybody. Mr. Penny didn't want to kill that man. You should have seen the way Mr. Penny looked. He was distraught. He was very, very visibly distressed. And he didn't go. He didn't run. He stayed. Prosecutor Joshua Steinglass said at Penny's arraignment Friday that the Marine veteran, who has lived his entire life in the New York area, continued to hold Neely for a period of time after the man had stopped moving. I don't think that's true. I think in the video, you can see the dude is still waving his arms around and there's other men trying to stop him. So something else was going on than just this. They say it took 3 men to hold Mr. Neely down. He was struggling. After widespread protests erupted across the city, with many demonstrators and even politicians calling Penny a murderer, Bragg charged Penny. And now I'm hearing that they're like regular New Yorkers saying criminal charges should not be coming from a tiny fringe group of people.
That's something, I mean, I obviously we can't verify whether or not the people that have been protesting are actually New Yorkers or not, but it wouldn't surprise me considering the history of protests, you know, the past 5 or so years in the U.S. that these people were from out of state making a stink in the subway when your average New Yorker is probably like, please don't charge this guy because we all hate dealing with mentally unstable people in the subway because there are mentally unstable people. They do need help. The city needs to do something about it. But at the end of the day, it's the average New Yorker that pays the price. You know, it's like they're the ones that get terrorized when they're on the subway and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I don't see how the average person in New York City is like, oh, you know, we need to punish this guy.
There's more. The guy who filmed it said he started screaming. He said he had no food, no drink, that he was tired, doesn't care if he goes to jail. He started screaming all these things and took off his jacket, a black jacket that he had, and threw it on the ground. The narrative that has emerged has become about race. A white man who fatally choked a black man, the witness said. This isn't about race. This is about people of all colors who were very, very afraid, and a man who stepped in to help them. So here's the picture being painted by the witnesses. They're cowering in the back of the truck as this guy screaming, takes his jacket off, throws it on the ground, and only at that point when he's saying he's about to kill people, or he's going to, and he takes his jacket off, like it looks like he's about to engage, do these men decide to subdue him?
It sounds like he had all the things he had exhibited all of the things that are necessary for legitimate self-defense. You know, he's there, so he's got his fist, he's making threats, you know.
Listen to this. The woman, she said, I miss the city under the law and order of Giuliani. When it comes to exposing people or subjecting them to violent behavior, the people who are in power are supposed to protect us, are not. Oof. That's amazing.
Oof.
Wow. It's completely correct, right? These people, they actively work against civil society. It's not just the case that you don't get in trouble for breaking the law. You do get in trouble for stopping somebody from breaking the law.
Yeah, 100%.
And so this is what the media has made perfectly clear to the American people over the past several years. And this is something they've believed for decades, but they've gotten explicitly clear in their messaging about this. We saw this during the 2020 riots, right? 30 people died. The vast majority of people don't know any of their names, but everyone knows Kyle Rittenhouse's name. Do you know why? Because he defended himself. He didn't let the mob murder him. And that's not what he was supposed to do. He was supposed to allow himself to be killed, and he didn't, which is why he needs to be charged, because he's setting an example for people. He's showing people that you don't have to roll over and die because a left-wing mob is rioting in your neighborhood or a neighborhood that you're invested in protecting.
There's another name that everybody remembers. Do you know what it is? What other person?
Cheating. David Dorner.
David Dorn.
David Dorn, yeah. David Dorn.
Do you know why they remember his name?
McCloskey. He died, right? He was a police officer.
And he was trying to protect a business that was being looted when they shot him over a TV. And people, they remember his name. I don't know for better or for worse, if you try and defend yourself, people are going to remember who you are. The left for bad reasons and the right for good reasons. Do you remember the name of the woman who was pushed in front of the train and murdered? Nope. We read her name on the show. I can't remember either.
Nope.
Nobody cares.
Well, no one's going to talk about that, right?
That's crazy, man.
Because that's business as usual. But citizens standing up for themselves against criminals is not. And that's not supposed to happen.
You guys ready for this one? Here we go. From the New York Times. They watched Jordan Neely die. Did they have a duty to intervene?
Oh, interesting. Are you supposed to intervene when someone's being
Bizarro.
assaulted? Or
Literally bizarro
It's crazy. When there's a threat, are you supposed to step in and do something?
Yep.
Insane.
Oh, that's so wild.
I feel like this is intentionally to make people lose their minds. It's like, how is it that they're going to go ahead and argue for people to intervene on Jordan Neely's behalf when the other guy was intervening on everyone in the subway's behalf? Unreal.
It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
You ready for this?
Please. Oh, my goodness.
Arrest everyone that was on that train, read one
my
protester sign.
gosh.
Love and protect your fellow man. Don't move here if you're scared of your neighbors. Which it also added, if you watch someone choke and attack and kill another, you are complicit. You are responsible.
Also, I just want to make a point. That sign that says, don't move here if you're scared of your neighbors, of course not. Because if you're scared of your neighbors, you're already in New York.
See, this is the thing. I wouldn't. Isn't there a part of all of you that wants everyone on that train to be arrested?
No.
Why not?
No. It's evil because it's evil.
Let the people of New York learn a lesson about who they voted for, and maybe then. No. Okay. You're right. You're
Tim,
right.
the
James.
people of New
You're
York
right.
will never learn a lesson about who they voted for ever.
That's not true, and that's why I say you're right. Because the witness, the woman who called Penny a hero, says she wants Giuliani back.
Yeah.
Like maybe there is a lesson being learned by people that they might stop voting for this. I can be hopeful. I kind of have doubt.
No one does a better job creating demand for Republicans than Democrats.
Yeah. I can't imagine how people are going to continue to allow this kind of stuff to happen as more and more victims are created. Like people every day are dealing with this kind of stuff on the subway. And I can't imagine, again, I just can't imagine the people of New York actually supporting it. It's got to be activists that are making that noise.
Yeah. Well, and it's about the stories the media chooses to focus on. So as we were discussing, when an innocent person is pushed in front of a train by a complete maniac, that's not a story that's discussed. And then when a citizen intervenes to prevent somebody who is a career criminal who's behaving violently, screaming about the fact that they're not afraid to go back to jail and they'll kill somebody, not only is there even a question in anyone's mind about whether this was an appropriate instance for this person to intervene in, but we're seeing pictures of the person who died moonwalking in a subway station as if that absolves him.
I just think this whole New York Times article is magic. It's
hilarious.
Absolute magic.
It's like an Onion article, dude.
Right. Should they have a duty to intervene? What do you think Daniel Penny was doing? He was stopping a violent man who was threatening people. He was literally intervening. Now, in their world, you're like at a bank and some guy breaks in to rob that bank and the security guard aims a weapon at the burglar, at the bank robber, and the New York Times wants you to intervene to help the bank robber. That's what they're arguing for.
Well, and that's the thing. This isn't just beyond parody, right? This isn't just a joke. This is actually a clever joke, right? Like if the Onion or the Babylon Bee published that headline, I'd be like, all right, that's a good angle because it shows the hypocrisy and it's also funny and it's ridiculous. This was the New York Times being completely unironic.
I'm often very worried for Seth over at the Babylon Bee.
Because, what is he supposed to publish?
I know.
And look, what about me? I make cartoons about this stuff. This
poor
is a
guys.
cartoon. This is actually a cartoon.
Like, I do more comedy than you do at this point by simply reading headlines.
Just reading the news. It's true. It's really getting to that point.
I know, but it's terrifying comedy. It's like
People are like, are you worried that AI is going to be able to generate comedy? I'm like, the New York Times already does.
you can't compete, dude.
Yeah.
Wow. When I saw this headline, I was really impressed. Because as you pointed out, it creates a paradox of intervention.
Yeah, exactly.
Where like Penny intervenes, so then someone intervenes to stop Penny, so then someone intervenes to stop that person, and then everyone in the train is fighting each other under some legal requirement of
Exactly.
intervention.
And then the next article is like, should the people at the subway stop have intervened and stopped everyone on the subway car from stopping the people on the subway car that they were stopping from
In
stopping the
2
other people?
weeks, there would be no one left in Manhattan.
Exactly.
Like, everybody's dead.
Everyone's just choking each other.
Yeah.
They're all it's like a human centipede of chokings.
My gosh.
So where are we on this whole self-defense thing, right?
Not
Well,
New
the-
York,
the-
thankfully.
The left doesn't want, like we've talked about, the left does want to take away your right to self-defense because they don't believe that you should defend yourself against people that have already been victimized by society. I've said this before. The left believes that the people that, like Jordan himself, was a victim. He had been victimized all his life. He was a victim of circumstance, victim of a system, et cetera, et cetera. So when you have someone that's victimized like that and he's just acting out in this terrible world that he's been oppressed in, and then the white man comes and kills him. And that's the entirety of the left's, outlook on it. And so the white guy has come and victimized the black guy at the end of the day.
Yes.
And they can't abide by the idea that he was victimized again by historically powerful people, et cetera. And it's a simple concept to understand, but it takes all the agency away from every single person that behaves in a bad way, and it makes excuses for them. And you can't have a society that doesn't have a standard that is your life is your own and you can defend it. If you can't defend your own life, society breaks down.
Exactly. So Jordan Neely was screaming at innocent people after a life of crime because of socioeconomic factors, because we didn't fund that library, because his public school wasn't good enough or on par with European standards or standards in more wealthy neighborhoods.
With an imaginary standard.
But Daniel Penny, he just woke up and wanted to kill a black person, right? That's the only analysis we do on the fact that somebody is dead on this train, right? He just woke up one morning and said, I guess I just want to go out and kill a black person. That is literally how the left sees this story. Every single level of socioeconomic analysis is done to exonerate Jordan Neely.
But they're lying. Like, they don't literally believe that. They just lie.
I think so. I think you're right that they lie, but there are true believers on the left who, if you really press them or you just try to infer from their conclusions, they really seem to believe that white people are just searching for excuses to kill black people all the time.
There are people
because
that think
every
that.
time there's an instance where a white person defends themselves against a black person, it's, well, oh, look at that. White guy killed a black guy because he's racist. Really? That's the first assumption?
Weren't you saying something earlier about your hands being deadly weapons? Like, is that like a law or something?
Yeah, so that's a law. When you become a professional fighter, you have to register your hands with the police.
No way.
Yeah. So
you had to go to the police and tell them?
I mean, you're supposed to. I never ended up doing it because I knew I was never going to break a law. Like, I handle my business in the cage where we get paid a lot of money to fight people. I would never assault someone outside the cage. So, I would never have to deal with that. So
I heard that when I was little. They said that if you get like a black belt, then as a kid they say it makes your hands deadly weapons. Mm-hmm. As an adult, I was told it makes assault aggravated. Like, if you're a trained fighter and you commit a crime, it's an aggravated crime. As if a regular person had a weapon, you being trained aggravates it or something. Mm. Yeah.
Well, I remember before the show, you were telling a story about somebody who was a wrestler and got in some trouble.
Yeah, so there was this wrestler in my college at Oregon State, and he got in a fight at a party because the guy was like cussing at his girlfriend. So he's like, dude, you're not gonna cuss at my girlfriend. And then the guy like pushed him and like threw a punch at him, a sucker punch. So he's like, let's go outside. So he took it outside, double legs the guy on the ground. The guy hits his head off the concrete and had to get stitches, and then goes to the police, and my friend ended up getting assault with a deadly weapon because he was a wrestler.
That's insane.
Crazy. He ended up having to do 3.5 years in prison.
No
Oh
way.
my gosh.
Yeah, in Oregon.
Jesus.
That's why I always tell people, like, the fight's not worth it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like you're saying, fight in the cage, make it professional.
Yeah.
But I've heard so many stories about people who they get emotional.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, fights usually break up. Someone gets a bruise. It's kind of the end of it. You get that one moment where someone falls back and hits their head, and you go to prison.
Yeah.
It's not worth it, man.
It's tough though when the adrenaline gets going. Like, people don't know how to control their adrenaline rushes. Like, it's a real thing. Like, when you're in that type of moment where it's like high intensity and you feel like you're about to get in a fight, like the adrenaline, the nerves start getting to you, and you can't handle your emotions. You don't think clearly anymore. So I feel for those people.
I think more people should probably do some kind of fight training, because even thinking about situations like this with Penny, he's a Marine. Mm-hmm. He was probably cool as a cucumber. like everyone else is freaking out. He's probably thinking like, all right, I got to stop this guy before it gets out of hand. And that's why he was able to do it. And then those other guys help him do it. But you get someone who's terrified and shaking, and things can get a lot worse than they did here. Like in New York, when you get cops who are poorly trained and they start unloading their guns, and then this actually happened. They ended up shooting 7 random people because they were panicking, and just like, people need to be able to be in control.
That was at the Empire State Building, right?
Yeah. Did you guys hear that story?
Yeah.
No.
Guy came out of the building. I guess it was like a disgruntled shooting or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was, but the police unloaded and they shot him. But
No, I think they missed him.
well, I mean, the thing is, they were using 9mm, so they may have missed him, but they may have hit him, and they just go pass through because they're fast.
They hit like
bullets.
7 random people, just
Yeah.
like because they were just like just shooting, like terrified of this guy.
And I mean, it could have been, ricochets or whatever, but still,
Yeah.
you're shooting guns in New York City. Like, just because you're cops doesn't mean the bullets stop in the bad guy, or they don't bounce or whatever. So,
Got to be careful, man.
yeah,
You guys want to can we just get everybody really mad and we'll just keep going with it?
sure.
Yeah,
We got this
that's
story.
our job.
This is it from Fox News. North Dakota man who killed an 18-year-old boy following political argument has charges reduced.
Oh,
so this story is actually from a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But we overlooked it, and a lot of people are now picking the story up. You may remember this story. It's this guy, Shannon Brandt. He apparently called the police, called some kid. He claimed this 18-year-old kid was a Republican extremist, and then ran him over. They charged him with murder. Recently, they dropped it down to manslaughter, and they're saying it wasn't part of a plea agreement, meaning the prosecutors just quietly were like, we're going to reduce his charges on this one. It feels more and more like across the country, if you like Donald Trump, if you are a conservative, if you're libertarian, if you oppose the establishment, they will throw not just the book, but any book they have at you.
There is unquestionably political motivation against conservatives and libertarians, people that are generally anti-establishment. There is a strong incentive to do everything you can to punish those people for their opinions. I don't think that there's going to be people that are going to say, no, that's not true and stuff. I really find it difficult to see anything else. And you got the riots in 2020, people like this guy kill a kid.
Dude, he hit somebody with his car.
After a political argument.
Yeah.
After a political argument. That's an extremely important part. This is a politically motivated murder. There was that kid in...
How could that... Here's the thing. Like, to drop it to manslaughter, I mean... How could it be unintentional? You
And they said
go
he
out of your
fled
way
the
to
scene.
hit somebody with a car, and he ran?
And he
fled-
ran. Wow.
Yeah.
This guy, manslaughter? Are you out of your mind? He got into an argument with someone and ran that dude over with his car.
I think the kids were like dancing in the street or something, and he had known the kid, and he called him a Republican extremist. Ends up running the kid over. They said he fled the scene, and they upgraded the charges to felony murder, probably because he fled.
Yeah.
And they said he has also been charged with leaving the scene of a crash that resulted in death.
Oh my God.
And now, not because of a plea agreement, they just said, as we have pointed out at the beginning, there's no evidence to support the misplaced allegation of intentional homicide. The state and defense forensic experts have provided comprehensive reports confirming the tragedy was an accident. Misplaced media hype and community conjecture is no substitute for evidence. Mr. Brand is anxious for the truth to be told to a jury trial. Fair point. Fair point. Let's see a jury trial. I'll say this. Innocent until proven guilty extends to even people like this. And maybe it is media hype.
Yeah.
But like when you charge him with fleeing a crime, you have to understand why we feel that way. So don't say it's misplaced media hype when y'all literally charged a guy with leaving the scene of a crime that resulted in death. So like he says, it's a Republican extremist, runs him over, it leaves, and then you're like, it's an accident. Wow.
Yeah.
I guess he's going to argue that he ran him over and thought it was a rabbit.
Well, but that's the thing, right? Because there was a prior relationship here. They clearly didn't like each other, political argument.
Mm-hmm.
There was no prior relationship between Jordan Neely and Daniel Penny. He was threatening people on the subway, so he intervened, right? It was just clearly situational. Anyway.
This is a little different take on it, but listen, if you're a conservative or if you're a libertarian, I know you got a life and stuff, but if you get put onto a jury, stay. Like, get in there and get on the jury. And if it happens to be someone that has political leanings that align with you, jury nullification is a great tool.
Look at this headline from the original story. Man admits to running over 18-year-old after they had a political argument.
Unbelievable.
So he admitted to running over the teenager, leaving the scene of a crime after having a political argument, and they're like, nah, he's fine. Yo, if you're a Trump supporter and you fart, they're gonna lock you up.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, "What was that? I smell something."
Yeah, well,
Hit the
you
dogs.
smelt it, dealt it Act of 1987.
And this is in what? This is in Montana, was it? Or Wyoming?
North Dakota, I think it
North
was.
Dakota?
North Dakota.
I mean, it's not typically a bastion of progressive liberalism there. I mean, there are definitely Democrats, I would imagine blue dog Democrat type.
The kid called his mom, said he was being chased.
It's
Like,
unreal.
this is premeditated. This is first degree.
Yeah.
This is amazing. They called it felony murder. I'm like, this is he's chasing the kid. The kid calls mom saying he's being chased.
We don't have a justice system in this country anymore. We talked about
He's drunk too.
this kid.
Oh my gosh.
Like, if you're driving drunk and you hit somebody, you get charged with like vehicular homicide, negligent homicide.
Yeah.
This is crazy, man.
Whether it be the stuff with George Floyd or with the Ahmaud Arbery case or with this, or it's like very frequently there is significantly bad prosecutions and stuff. I mean, the FBI going after Trump with the stuff that came out with the Durham case, all that. I don't see how people can continue to trust the justice system when there are so many high profile abuses of the justice system. It's detrimental to the country.
They want you to wear an Antifa shirt. It's the only way you'll get justice. But then they want you promoting those ideas. It's I'm half kidding, but it's kind of like how businesses put up Antifa stuff in their windows.
Yeah.
I was in we were out in the West Virginia area. We were working on the cafe, and I see some of these businesses having LGBTQ plus flyers in their windows.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, a lot of these businesses probably don't care. Someone comes in and says, "Okay, we put something in the window," say fine. But some of them, like especially in West Virginia, are like, "Please don't hurt me. You can put whatever you want in the window. Please spare our store." That was like the line from the 2020 riots. Please spare our store. Because these far leftists are going around and destroying like, dude, if you're a small business, you can't afford to replace your front windows. I'm talking thousands of dollars.
This makes me wonder if this is like what the French Terror was like. How intense were the leftists in the French Revolution? How intense were they going after the population to terrorize them into agreeing? I can't imagine that it was significantly more intense than at least 2020.
Well, they were beheading people.
That's true.
Yeah.
A lot of
It
people.
was pretty bad.
And
But
then it
look,
got turned on themselves.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That is
Robespierre
true.
was like, "Oh no," and then
Well,
they blew his jaw off.
But let that be a lesson to what's going to happen to these people. The revolution eats its own children.
But society
Always.
was also significantly more violent back then.
Well, look, all I'm saying is don't be surprised if they start killing people. We've already seen terror attacks from lefties on the rise. I mean, and they have literally said on television, we should kill them. Jane Fonda said murder is how we are going to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't. They asked her, "What could we do?" And she says, "Murder." And then they all immediately go, "No, she's joking. She's joking." And then she
Yes.
rolls her eyes,
Covering for her. Yeah.
like she wasn't joking, man. These people are nuts.
Hanoi Jane.
Yeah, they're getting crazy out there, man. So I kind of feel like maybe this summer we'll see some shenanigans.
Yeah, I hope
But I
not,
think 2024 summer is gonna get crazy.
I am concerned about next year getting into the election.
So I got to ask you, during the COVID riots in 2020, you've been
COVID?
I'm sorry, not the COVID riots. What's wrong with me? COVID 2020 riots. A lot happened that year. It was a great time for all of us. Inflation, riots. Yeah, it was a good time. No, I wanted to ask, as a fighter, when did you start to get involved politically?
Yeah, so I started to get, I've always grew up conservative my whole entire life, but I really started to branch out when I saw that the media and all the athletes were just shoving one way down your throat, the liberal way. And I'm like, why is no one else talking about conservative beliefs? And then I started to realize, like, all these athletes, like, they don't want to disrupt their gravy train. They're getting paid by these general managers, by these owners, managers, whatever. And if they say something, they're going to be bagging, groceries at Walmart. So I'm like, you know what? I'm an independent contractor for the UFC. Thank God for Dana White and the UFC, what they do, letting us be independent contractors where we don't have to get our voices muzzled. We can say whatever we want. So, my paycheck is not affected by what I believe in and what I stand for. So, that's when I really started to come out. I was just sick of seeing the LeBron James way, defund the police. I care about equality and injustice and women's rights. Women's rights, bro. LeBron, you abuse women. You got women in Chinese sweatshops. You're working for pennies on the dollar. You're making hundreds of millions after them. How could you care about women's rights when you're a woman abuser?
Yeah. Wow.
It's funny how you don't see these people talk about creating real American jobs.
No.
So that we can do away with sweatshop labor and help American workers bring back manufacturing. They're just
No, well, of course not.
whatever talking point the Democratic Party or the media tells them to say, they just regurgitate it.
It's just virtue signaling. It's empty virtue signaling. Oh, it's nonsense. So, like, what kind of pressure has been put on you? I know you said you're a private contractor, but have people sort of tried to step in the way of that, get clients in trouble, get the UFC in trouble?
Absolutely. So we had a Reebok was sponsoring the UFC, and they didn't sponsor me individually. They just sponsored the company. They didn't sponsor me individually. After one of my fights, they tried to retract some of my statements, saying, "Oh, we don't stand for what Colby Covington believes. Oh, we're asking for him to get fired from the UFC." And Dana's just like laughing, like, "What? What? He's an independent contractor."
Can I ask what you said, or is this something you can say on air? Or
No, I just after I beat this guy that was all about Black Lives Matter, I crushed his dreams, and I just stood up for conservatism, and I was patriotic, and they didn't like the way I said it.
But it's crazy how, like, they can say whatever they want politically.
Oh, yeah.
And there's nothing. No. And then you do the exact same thing they did, but for your beliefs, and they're like, shut him down, fire him.
Yep.
I do think it's awesome that Dana's laughing, and he's like, no.
Yeah.
That's great. Because a lot of major league sports, they have in their contracts, they'll go to the player, the athlete, and be like, you really got to tone it down. Like we're getting heat. Mm-hmm. I think people who have FU money need to start acting like they got FU money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What are they so scared of? It's the weirdest thing. But you know, it might be that UFC is, I think it's just a bunch of high testosterone dudes aren't going to be told what they can and can't do.
It's one of the last bastions of masculinity,
right?
Exactly.
I mean, not for nothing. People will say there's toxicity and stuff, but it's totally not, because the guys like you are so well trained, so disciplined, and so focused. It is not like just like you were talking earlier, like just raw emotion. You have to be smart. We were talking earlier about getting under your opponent's skin and talking trash, and how that's an important part. And I think that's a good thing for young men to do. I think young men should get into jiu-jitsu, especially like young people, I think should be fine. Like, and then if you get older and you want to get into striking sports, that, more power to you. But like that kind of stuff is really good for young men, because it's a great way to expel energy. You learn about yourself. You learn about respecting other people, and, learning your limits and stuff. So I think that the UFC plays an important role today for young men, to be able to express their masculinity in a positive way.
I love the I crushed his dreams,
Yeah, I know. That was hilarious.
Very passively, and
so I woke up one day, crushed a guy's dreams. It's just what
I
happened.
didn't want to get you guys kicked off YouTube. Saying some mean words. I get locked in a cage. It's okay if I leave someone in a pool of blood, but oh dang, he says some mean words. Cancel that guy.
Colby,
that's the funny thing, though. We talk about all the time how in movies there's murder, there's death, there's chaos, but then someone 10 years ago did a bad joke, so they got to get fired from their job.
Yeah.
They say nothing about. In fact, they cheer you on that you and another guy are attempting to mercilessly beat each other to prove that you're the better fighter, and they're like, that's cool. And then you're like, I like Donald Trump, and they're like, shut it down.
They're like, that's violence.
Yeah, no, for real.
Inciting violence.
Oh my gosh.
Not the actual show itself.
Yeah.
They're like, well, we understand fighting is a sport, but no, it's almost like the leftist version of UFC is two guys going to a ring and start talking about who likes Trump more than the other guy.
You like Trump the most.
No. It's two guys saying things about why Trump is good, why they like Western civilization.
Misgendering each other.
Yep, and they're like, it's just the most violence they've ever seen.
Who can take it for the longest?
Oh my gosh.
Take it from the longest.
He said, Trump beat up my dad, I'm tapping.
Oh my gosh.
That's the world they live in.
He said the future isn't female. I'm out. I can't do this.
It's too much. It's too much. And then it's like there's low blows.
Dude, just literally the UFC microaggression division. I
was watching that fight a couple weeks ago where I can't remember who it was. Who was it? But one guy accidentally hit the other guy in the nuts.
Oh,
And then they immediately backs off and he puts his like, sorry about that. And they're like, no, it's cool. We can go again. Like, that's like a big no, right? Like, you don't, we like, that's not sportsmanlike.
Yeah, it's not sportsmanlike, but sometimes in the heat of battle, it's tough to control your weapons. Sometimes you're throwing a body kick and it goes a little low, it might hit the nuts. But that's why we wear a cup in there, so you can't feel that. You get kicked in the nuts, you're not going to feel that with the cup on. So
right on.
Yeah.
So but I imagine if the leftists are getting into the ring, it's like you have a moment where someone says something and they're like, whoa, they're like that's an illegal move. You can't say that. That's too violent. Saying something like Trump 2024, and they're like, whoa,
No,
shut it down.
The real extreme stuff is that's not a penis.
Yeah.
That's a wound.
That's what sucks.
That's not a vagina.
That's what sucks about the media, MMA media. They're all liberal. Like they all hate Trump. They all just bash him constantly, and they don't want to give me a platform. They never want to speak to me. So it's just funny because none of them are actual journalists. None of them have journalism degrees, but they want to act like they're journalists. It's funny.
I hate the journalism degree thing. I suppose there was Seamus is journalist. I think back in the day, it probably made some sense. I was talking about this today with my family that we're in West Virginia in this small town. The newspaper used to just be like a bulletin board. Seriously, like the news was like a guy fell off his ladder and hurt his leg. You live in the city and you pick up the newspaper. It's like John fell yesterday, and you're like, oh, John fell, wow. And there's only a few thousand people, so most people knew sort of who everybody was. Yeah. Now, nobody cares at all about who their neighbor is, and you can have a house burned down across the street from you and be like, what happened? That was a fire? I didn't even know who lived there. Now, like, we completely separated ourselves from all information on this stuff.
Well, with the political bias, it's extra bizarre. And, you're talking about the UFC here and the fact that UFC journalists are all on the left. I understand that journalists are usually lefties, but UFC is not like some flowery left-wing thing. That's why it's so bizarre, right?
Yeah. It's funny. They want us all to be betas, but we're all alphas. They don't want masculine men in society. That's not their agenda. It doesn't fit their agenda.
I just don't like. Are they doing their little like critical theory analysis on the fights, or how does that even work?
I think the reason I think UFC allows like I was saying Dana White, because it's like high testosterone guys who are just like, after you've been punched in the face so many times, words kind of roll off your back like they didn't even happen. It doesn't even matter. But these journalists are genuinely terrified words. They hurt them.
Yeah.
These millennials, these Gen Zers who have never experienced anything. And it's funny because we've had a couple super chats where like, these guys have never even been punched in the face. Like talking about us and like, we're going to sit here and talk with you. And it's like, no,
I've definitely been punched in the face, bro.
Yeah, I've been, I've been in I'll keep it light, like conflict, crisis, and I don't want to say overt war, but I've been in places where people are shooting at each other, and I've watched people die. Not that I've been directly punched in the face. I've had Antifa try to punch me in the face. But
well, I mean, look,
listen, I'm a white belt.
Listen, I'll put it this way.
I'm a white belt in jiu-jitsu, so I know what it's like to get wrapped up. Okay, so I know what it's like to get beat up. So.
But I'm here to say, like, fair point. Like, I have no problem being like, I have no idea what it's like to go up against the greatest fighters in the world and win or lose. And these leftists act like they do know.
I know. And I totally get that, and I agree, but I just don't know how anyone could hear me speak and come to the conclusion that no one's ever punched me in the face before. That's my point. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh.
I think the best thing about MMA media is just they all write with their bias and their feelings. They don't write impartial journalism. They don't call a spade a spade. They dance around it, and it's just sad to see.
What do you think? You think most fighters are probably right leaning?
I would say it's a mix. I'd say it's half and half. But
I'm like, how do you be a fighter and a leftist? I just don't understand that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, some of the guys are vegetarians or vegans and all about the soy boy life and safe spaces and this and that.
Wow. And I think it's also like the particular brand of left-wing politics, right? Because I don't think a lot of them, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think a lot of them are going to be like feminists, but I could definitely see like the BLM thing. That's something that I could see appealing to men in the MMA.
But these vegan fighters, they're not like heavyweights, right?
Nah, they're like middleweights, lighter weights.
Because and I'm not trying to rag on anybody who's vegan. I got no problem with that. Live your life, do what you want to do. Just please be healthy. And if you are, awesome. Yeah. But it's really hard to maintain higher weights. Like I was reading interviews with Chris Hemsworth, talking about playing the role of Thor, and he was saying he was eating thousands of calories of fish and chicken every day to try and maintain that muscle mass. And it's really, really hard. Constant training,
wild.
Eating like crazy. And then once you stop, you start going back down. So I'm like, I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe it's just my bias, but if you can take a hit, if you can fight at the highest level, how are you going to be the kind of person that's like, words are violence? You know what I mean? You're going to be like, I don't care what you call me, dude. I just got punched in the face. It hurts.
Well, that's the other, like, I think a lot of it is just based on, this is my side of the aisle. Again, you mentioned like the BLM thing. I could totally see that. And I think a lot of it just becomes like tribal politics. You know, my family was Democratic growing up, or my family was Republican growing up, and that's why I'm into this, and not, you know, my gender studies professor told me words are violence or something like that. I would suspect most of the people in the UFC on the left aren't coming at it from the blue-haired college student angle.
Yeah, no, most fighters, you know, didn't go to college, and they're rather dumb. So, I mean, they get most of their information from either social media or mainstream media. And when we know how controlled that is, you know, and how much fake news is out there. So, you know, these kids in fighting are a lot of sheep. You know, they can't think for themselves or do the research to find out the real information. They just read a news article like that on New York Times, and they just believe what it says automatically.
Let's jump to this viral story. This one's so good. Ladies and gentlemen, we have this from the Daily Mail. Pregnant New York City nurse accused of taking a city bike from a black man outside a hospital is named as friends start GoFundMe to pay her legal bills, and lawyer shares receipts that proves the bike was hers. All right. Here's the story. A viral video over the weekend showed a white woman yelling for help as some black teenagers surround her, and one guy has his hand on the bike saying, "This is not your bike, this is my bike." They started claiming that she was racist, that she was trying to steal the bike from this young black man, and that she was putting his safety in jeopardy. The hospital suspended her pending an investigation. We have this tweet from Ben Crump. He said, "This is unacceptable. A white woman was caught on camera attempting to steal a city bike from a young black man in New York City. She grossly tried to weaponize her tears to paint this man as a threat. This is exactly the type of behavior that has endangered so many black men in the past." The first thing I noticed when I see this is that she's actually on the bike. She's literally on the bike, and he's not, and he's grabbing the bike and laughing. So how is it? So these city bikes, the way they work, they're in the rack. You walk up, you scan the QR code, and it unlocks the bike, and you can take it out. How is it that he walked up, did not get on the bike, scanned it, then did she run up at this pregnant woman? She's 6 months pregnant, by the way. Did she run up and jump on the bike and try taking it from him? That's what Ben Crump is arguing. So her lawyer, so this is the story that was going out. Not only did they put out a story saying that she was a racist trying to steal the bike from this black teenager, journalists went to her home in New York City and started going to her neighbors and saying, "Look, this is your neighbor. This is what she did. What do you think?" And there are these people being like, "Wow, that looks racist. I can't believe she would do that." Think about how nightmarish it is to live in one of these places.
I can't even imagine wanting to live in a place like that where you have to worry about the media going to your neighbors accusing you of racism and a totally fabricated story. Ben Crump is the most incredible race hustler I have ever seen in my life. That dude is shameless, and he just gets on any court case or whatever that he can. He's just right there planting his flag, looking for them dollars.
So wait, so she had the receipts that showed that this was her bike. This guy was trying to take it from her. On what basis did he decide to report that she was stealing the bike from him? Just the picture? He saw the picture and said, well, she has the bad
No, they filmed it.
Oh, okay.
They filmed her and said, like, this is brilliant stuff. This is con level brilliant grifting. When you're committing the crime, accuse the other person of committing the crime and film them. And then if they don't give you what you want, you can upload the video and make them the bad guy.
That's rules for radicals, right?
So I was,
accuse your opponent of what you're doing.
I was talking about this when I did a segment for my morning show, an old con trick called a reverse pickpocket. What you do is you take a wallet with you put your ID in it, like an old dummy ID, and then maybe some, I don't know, a couple bucks or something. You slip it into the bag or pocket of someone else, then accuse them of robbing you, and that this gets other bystanders or even the police to rob them on your behalf. So what happens is you say, "Help! That person just robbed me,"
and they took my phone.
They took my wallet, and then phone's hard because
But if you say they took my wallet, you can say they took other things too.
Exactly. So the way the con would work is you drop the dummy wallet in their coat pocket or something. Then you call the police or you ask for help. When they say, look in his pocket, the victim is going, what are you talking about? I didn't do anything. And they go, empty your pockets then. The person pulls a wallet out of their pocket. There it is. That's my wallet. Open. It's got my ID in it. When they open it and your ID's in it, they say, boom, this proves it. And I say, and my cash, I had $40 in there. No, there's no cash in there. Where's my $40? Then they take the $40 from the victim and give it to you. You can actually get police to arrest the victims. And then they'll often just be like, here's your cash, sir. Sorry. It was an old con people used to pull. And there's sophisticated versions of it too. They wait till someone leaves an ATM, and then people will leave the receipts at the ATM showing how much money they have on them. Then your buddy reverse pickpockets. Then you call the police and say that person did it. The wallet on them is proof. The cop doesn't even need to get a statement or any evidence. The wallet on them is proof enough, and the cop will say, upon stopping the perpetrator, we found the wallet in question, proving that the theft took place. We returned the money to the victim.
Wow.
Crazy, right? This is what these guys are basically doing. They're trying to, here's what I think they were trying to do. When this happens a lot with these bike share things, you unlock the bike with your phone and then you ride it around and it charges you, I think, per hour, or you can be a member or something. So what they'll do is they'll wait for someone to unlock a bike, take the bike from them, and then bike's theirs.
Yeah, bike's on them.
Because the bike doesn't have a camera on or anything like
Right.
so you can't track. And now if I use my phone to unlock a bike and they take it,
It's all on you.
all
you
on
paid
me
for it.
That's right. I paid for it. And
Wow.
I think they were trying to steal the bike from her.
That makes
and
sense.
to get away with it, they said she's stealing the bike from me. And it actually worked for a second until she was able to publish the receipts proving it was actually her bike they took from her.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
That is really crazy.
Who wants to live in this place? This is in New York.
Hustler's gonna hustle.
Yeah. Yeah, look at this. This is what is it? It's right by just north of Union Square. They can reveal the nurse's city bike receipts, which her lawyer claims proves the number on the handlebars of the bike she was clutching in the footage. So you can see in the picture 5603915, and they published the receipt 5603915. Wow. Welcome to the new country, I guess.
Well, he also immediately took it to not just a race baiting place, a racist place. She's weaponizing her white woman tears. Like, you mean she's crying because someone's trying to steal her bike from her?
I don't think she was really crying, though. It does seem fake. Like, they accused her of fake crying. And the reason I think a lot of people sided against her is that she's screaming for help. No one helps her. Then she grabs his phone. Then they grab it back. Then she starts crying. And then the guy behind her goes, get a different bike. And then she just gets off the bike and stops crying. So I kind of feel like she wasn't as distressed as she's making out to be, but she was still the victim, trying to figure out how to win this in some way because she doesn't have the physical ability to do so. And part of me is just kind of like, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it, guys. She lives in New York. The likelihood that a woman, a millennial woman in New York voted conservative or for law and order is almost zero. She likely, but you know what? I'm hoping it's stuff like this that wakes people like her up, right?
True.
That's what you hope for, but it never seems to
That's
shake
why I
the
don't live
reality.
there.
Yeah.
That's why I decide not to live in these places.
We keep saying over and over, people should get out of New York City, get out of the cities and stuff. I mean, every day you see more and more people that can't leave speaking up and saying things like, I miss Rudy Giuliani, like we saw that woman today. And, and you know, the people that are on the subway are happy that the guy saved them. Because there are people that can't leave, and it's you know, hard for some people to just be like, oh, I got to up and, you know, if you got family or if you don't have a lot of money or whatever, there's a million reasons people could be attached to a city. But when you hear the average person that's stuck and can't leave start saying, I miss the guy that was the Law and Order guy, that has also been basically lambasted for the past 6-7 years in the media because he supported the wrong president. You know, when you've got all of that propaganda, but New Yorkers are still like, I remember what it was like when Giuliani was the mayor, and I want that back. You know, you get people saying things like they want Michael Bloomberg back, and that's really the population speaking about what they want. You know, I can't imagine what it's like to be stuck there, and I feel terrible for the people that are.
They launched a GoFundMe for her, and I think she's going to be in for a rude awakening when GoFundMe bans their fundraising effort, because GoFundMe is the left and Give Send Go is the right. This woman, her family, they don't know what's going on. They don't understand. I would not be surprised if GoFundMe removes this because she is a racist white woman who tried stealing a bike from a black man, and she's a Karen. And then she's going to have to learn the hard way why she'll have to go. But maybe not. Maybe GoFundMe allows it. I'd be surprised if they do, to be honest. She's raised $4,000 so far of her $35,000 goal.
Well, it's
Look,
all. Oh,
go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, it's interesting how this is getting flipped around. People are making the argument that her calls for help were insincere. Okay, but one person is actually committing a crime on camera here, and it's not her. So why is she the person who all of the public attention is on? I also want to point out, because this was left out, and I also was not aware of this until I just learned this, she's also pregnant.
6 months pregnant. Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, you did?
She's
Okay, I'm
6
sorry. That
months
totally
pregnant.
went over my head.
And so I'm saying, like, what? When this young black man was standing next to the bike and scanning it, the 6 months pregnant woman
yeah, that's right.
jumps onto the bike. Give me that.
Dude, these 6-month pregnant women stealing bikes from black men in New York is a real problem. It happens every day. It's all the time.
Apparently it was so shocking
Racist
that Ben
crimes.
Crump had to get involved.
Yeah,
From
weaponizing
groups
their
of
white
black
woman
What do they
tears.
like? What do
Yeah.
they think is? I don't understand what they think is happening. Like this pregnant woman tried taking a bike from this group of men.
A racist pregnant one, because they brought race into it. She was using her white woman tears. A racist white woman. These pregnant white women are victimizing minorities by stealing their bikes. It just doesn't stop happening.
Are they saying that this pregnant white woman saw a group of young black teenagers, walked up to them and said, "Give me that bike," and then jumped on it?
Right. It's just wild to me. That's what they're actually going for.
And she had to prove her innocence.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Because the media was saying she made them unsafe. Because Ben Crump called her racist.
Unreal.
You know, look, man. Do you expect me to donate to her as well? Like the penny thing I get, they're trying to put him in prison. You know what I mean? They did try destroying this woman's life. But this is why I said it before, and I'll say it again. At what point are these people in these cities? This is how they choose to live.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I get it. We've gotta win these fights. Maybe the reason we donate to her is because we want people to see that if you will not be victimized by these con artists.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is the problem, right? I mean, you can donate to people who this kind of thing happens to, and I think that's a good thing. But when the people who perpetrate the lies don't face any negative consequences, it just keeps happening. Exactly. There's literally zero downside to spreading a lie like this.
You know
Nothing.
what I was thinking? We were talking about what were we talking about? We were talking about history earlier, and it's partly because the work we're doing in West Virginia, these are small towns, and I was saying, like, any story you've heard throughout history, just imagine it with 100 times less people. Because we're used to growing up in these big, dense urban environments, or we see like a football game and there's 60,000 people, and we're like, wow. So when you think back to the Coliseum, you're imagining this huge, full Coliseum and the gladiators fighting. It's probably a couple hundred people.
Yeah.
Like just a few hundred. These great battles of history, and we're imagining, and it's like I think what was Gettysburg, like 10, 15,000 or something like that.
No.
Way more?
More people died at Gettysburg than died in the entire Vietnam War.
Well,
wow.
I knew that more Americans died in the Civil War. It was something like 700,000 Americans died in the Civil War overall.
Yeah. More people died at Gettysburg than died in the whole Vietnam War. There was 50-some thousand people died in Vietnam, and there was more people that died at
Wow, yeah, it was 160,000 people present at Gettysburg. That's a lot of people.
A lot of people.
So okay,
Gettysburg
Civil War excluded. But it was because I was like reading about some historical fight, and it was mentioning like this great battle, and there was a few hundred people fighting, and I was like, oh wow. We think by today's standards, and maybe because of the Civil War, we assume there's way more people, but there were a lot less people before the 1900s, before the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, before the I mean, we talk about like energy is life, and there's all this talk about limiting energy, and there's a lot of the green initiatives and stuff that's just going to cause mass death because energy is life. If you look at a chart of world population, it's not just the Industrial Revolution, it's oil. Oil is so energy dense that once people discovered that oil could be used in all the things that it can be, the population on Earth skyrocketed. I mean, it's literally like it makes Lance's left-handed chart look ridiculous. I mean, it's straight up.
Left-handed chart.
Well, so Colby, I'd like to ask, and obviously don't answer if this is not something you're public about, but do you or have you ever had to live in one of these blue places?
Yeah. I had to live in Oregon for most of my life, and it wasn't as political. They didn't, make it so, so much division like there is today, and left versus right, and trying to make it a white versus black thing to divide this country more. So it was never like that until like a couple years ago when Antifa started raiding it, and it just became such a Democrat-run state. So this time and day is just so much different than it was, a decade ago.
And so you grew up there.
Yeah.
That must be really hard to see it fall apart.
Yeah, it's really hard because I love that state. It's such a beautiful, state.
Yeah.
A lot of mountains, a lot of outdoor stuff to do, and that's where I was born and raised, and that's where all the hard work was put in to get to where I am today, the top of the mountain of the UFC world. So, I'll never go back now. Seeing it the way it's run, I'll never go back. I don't even go to visit. So
Yeah.
Somebody
it's rough.
did ask a good question. They said, "Why is it that on the receipt the time is blurred out, as if to imply that she went back later to find this bike?" I'll say two things. The first, I'll say a couple things. I have no idea. You want to pull this up? I have no idea why they blurred the time on the receipt. That's the Daily Mail. But you wouldn't be able to find the bike. Like, if someone took the bike and then rode away with it, you don't know where it would end up. The other thing is, the New York Post says the first receipt reviewed by the Post shows the bike was taken out before it was relocked 1 minute later, which Marino said is the bike seen in the video. The second receipt shows another bike being taken out a minute later, which is the bike she switched to. So the story was that when she purchased the bike and tried to take it, they pushed her back in and wouldn't let her leave with it, which is why the receipt says 0, because it was unlocked and then relocked right away. So that's the bike, and you can see the number on the bike in question. But other than that, I have no idea where the Daily Mail. I'm assuming it looks like the Daily Mail is the one that redacted the timestamp on it for some reason. Yeah, no idea. Yep, very strange. Should we jump to the next Law and Order story? All right, here you go. You guys ready?
Justice system
In the criminal justice system, stealing luggage from airports is considered
especially heinous. In New York City, the members of the Biden administration who commit these crimes are given raises.
Former Biden nuclear official arrested as fugitive of justice in luggage theft case.
My gosh.
Sam Brinton stole bag from airports in Minnesota and Nevada in 2022. He probably stole a lot more than that.
Definitely.
And they called him non-binary. I don't think he was non-binary. I think he's a kleptomaniac. And what he would do is he would steal their clothes and then wear them on camera because that gave him some kind of exhilaration. Like, because this is what he would do. You can see here in these images, he's wearing the clothing he stole from these women. I don't think it's about wearing the women's clothing. I think it's about, imagine this. If you wore a suit, nobody would know that was a stolen suit.
Yeah.
You steal a suitcase, you find a suit, you put it on, you wear it on a show, and someone might be like, is that my suit? I can't tell. But then in the suitcase is a suit and is a frilly fancy dress with moons on it. And he's like, this
Just wants you to know he stole it.
Yeah, no, for real. He wants to stand in front of everybody and scream, this is a stolen outfit that I am wearing, and smile as they clap for him.
Seems
and
healthy.
That's what does it for him.
Yeah.
That's what he gets. And the Biden administration is all about it.
Man, that's some sick fetish type stuff. You can be weird, but just don't be weird around our kids. Don't be weird, in public. Do whatever you want to do. This is America. It's freedom of, we have so many freedoms here. So do whatever you want to do behind closed door. Just don't do weird stuff in public.
And
Don't do weird stuff with my luggage.
Yeah,
right. Don't
Leave my legs
steal.
alone.
That's all we're asking is like, leave the kids alone and don't break laws.
Yeah,
Dude, it's
Is
like
that too hard to ask?
when you get that little
Apparently.
slip,
Apparently.
when you fly and get that little slip in your luggage that says you've been subjected to a random TSA search. You can't find your dress. You look on television, this guy's wearing it. You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's literally what happened.
What was he did? He was like a nuclear regulation guy.
Yeah.
This is so weird. Like, why was he in the news? He wasn't like a prominent cabinet member.
Oh, just
he
because
was-
of his non-binary status.
He was like a
It
Biden appointment. I think he was a groundbreaking pick or something like that.
Former
It was a win for
nuclear-
diversity, which makes us stronger.
Yeah.
Former nuclear waste expert for the Department of Energy. They were like, he's non-binary. It turned out he was just some kind of like klepto fetishist. What would you call that? Kleptophilia?
Something like that. Yeah, that's got to be
Arousal
a thing.
from stealing people.
Kleptophilia. That's what they call Mr. Steal Your Girl. You know what I mean?
Seamus.
I mean, I think if I understand correctly, the only reason that he got appointed is because he was, they could promote that they had a non-binary, a member of the new religion in the position.
Kleptolagnia, by the way.
What?
Kleptolagnia.
Lagnia?
That's Lagnia.
What is that?
Yeah, that's what the state of being sexually aroused by theft. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I learned another term that shouldn't have to exist.
The other one
Were
we'll
it
talk
not
about
for
in the members
fallen
only
world.
show.
Yeah.
We got a outrageous members only show coming up here tonight, having to do with a lot of stuff. If you follow me on Twitter, you know what I'm talking about. But we don't say such things on YouTube.
No.
I don't think I even said anything too egregious on Twitter. I guess we'll
You
save
stated
it.
a fact.
We'll we'll save it. Let's keep talking about the crazy guy who stole the clothes. What did he steal? He said he was ordered to pay over $3,670 to the owner of a bag.
He stole some one of a kind stuff that a lady had made. She made her own clothes and stuff, and it was like expensive for her to make, and it was one of a kind, and he jacked it. And then I think actually the one on the right there, that the red thing was custom made. Actually, no, maybe even I think both of those.
I think
custom made.
He's wearing these one-of-a-kind artistic modeling pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Like the clothing he's wearing was designed. He probably stole a bunch of bags and threw away all of the stuff from Kohl's and Old Navy. And then he finds the unique stuff and says, it's basically like returning to the scene of a crime. You know, like in the movies, and the serial killer is like standing outside the police line, smiling and staring, and they're like, "What's this guy doing? He can't prove anything. What do you do?" Like that's what he was trying to do. And I think it's like what was it? Was it King of the Hill or whatever? Which show was it where? Oh no, Family Guy did it where Lois is stealing everything because she gets excited from it.
Oh, yeah.
And then she like puts the cigarette on her arm, like I'm alive. Like instead of skydiving or bungee jumping, this dude steals women's clothing and then wears it on TV.
Lois does have an addictive personality.
And Peggy Hill was a sociopath, like a serious.
She's like a narcissistic sociopath.
Serious,
yeah.
yeah.
She's very into herself.
That's an understatement. She was an evil woman. That character, man. Oof. That's what inspires people like this, I guess, who go around stealing clothes.
Yeah, it's like this dude's from one of those shows. And it's just real life. It's like it feels like a thing you'd see on Family Guy, but this is something that actually happened like numerous times.
Yo, he was, as part of an adult diversion, he was required to write a letter of apology, return stolen items to the victim, and complete 3 days of community service. Brenton also agreed to undergo a mental health evaluation.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, because he was facing 5 years in jail. He had to pay $3,670 over a bag he stole in December from the Harry Reid International Airport. He was seen on surveillance footage with a stolen bag in July. At the time of his arrest in Vegas, the Biden admin said the incident and alleged crimes were non-political, were a non-political issue and refused to comment. In February 2023, a Houston-based fashion designer publicly accused him of stealing her bag from Reagan National Airport. In 2018, Isa Compson wrote on Twitter that she had lost a bag containing custom outfits after traveling to D.C. to display her designs at an event. After Brenton's thefts were reported by the media, Compson said she recognized her items in the images of Brenton, filed a complaint with police in Houston, and was subsequently contacted by the FBI. Well, at least they're doing something, I guess. You know, if anything, they're stopping this guy from stealing clothes.
Yeah.
They're also suppressing information.
But why, like, so if he already got arrested and charged, what's the current arrest for? He was taken into custody May 17th at his home in Maryland at the request of the Metropolitan Washington Airport. He was taken to the Montgomery County Detention Center and held overnight in prep for an appearance before Judge Victor Delpino on May 18th, which was today. He is being held without bond. Yo, that's like really close to here.
Just like
that's like a few miles away.
Like, can you imagine being a grown man and being forced to write an apology note? It's like the worst thing I've ever heard. Did he have to write it 50 times on a chalkboard? I will not steal women's luggage. I will not steal women's luggage. I will not steal. That's
weird,
a
dude.
tough one.
Man, I can't wait for
Take
the
the-
next
take
big
the prison
story that
time,
comes
you
out of
know?
this, you know.
For sure.
Sitting like, I am so sorry for.
I mean, it's like 30 some odd miles away from here.
Wow, no
That's
way.
like relatively close. I guess we're super close to DC, so it's not surprising.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right by. It's right by. Who's that member of Congress who lied about me and everybody else on the January 6th committee? Raskin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's right by there.
The designer that he stole from, I can't pronounce that.
Thompson?
Ayakashman?
Kamson?
Kamson?
I don't know. That's what it is. What is that?
Asaya Kamson.
Kamson.
Won. Yeah, and I mean, she's still out there doing stuff, and she makes cool stuff. But man, he got himself into a pickle.
Has anyone
one-of-a-kind
has,
stuff.
Has anyone gone through any of his other photos and like try to track down
Yeah.
his clothing? I think someone did actually. I think someone. That's how they found some other stuff.
No way.
Yeah, they were like,
oh
looking at
my
their photos of
gosh.
He
Yeah.
definitely has more.
The adults are back in charge, as they say.
That's the crazy thing. It's like that what they say is always the opposite. I know. The adults are back in charge, and they're clearly not. Pete Buttigieg isn't even. Oh, did you see that article about Pete Buttigieg? that said
Oh,
that
yes.
he was a genius.
Yes.
And a bunch of
What?
other crazy. I should pull this one up.
Did you guys remember in the 2016 election, like right towards the end there, right before it was time to vote, you got all of these people claiming, all these people in the media saying, oh yeah, like I know people who worked with Hillary. They said she's super nice. It was like, that's really weird that this is the first time I'm ever hearing it. And I heard it like 5 times on the radio in the last week.
Well, I mean, look, the media has been in bed with the Democrats and with the Clintons and probably the Obamas and stuff for the better part of at least a decade.
Yeah.
So for them to just say, oh, hey, this is the person that we endorse and run propaganda. Another thing, there was a law that prevented the federal government from propagandizing the American people, and that was repealed in one of the NDAAs when Barack Obama was in office. I think it was like 2011 or something like that. But there used to be a law that said the government cannot propagandize the American people. That law gets repealed in the NDAA. Next thing you know, social media companies are doing their best to shove whatever the Democrat Party wants down people's throats.
And actually they feel obligated to, right?
I mean, probably.
And because they felt so bad that Trump got elected. They just needed to make sure something like that didn't happen again.
Yeah,
I blame CNN. Jeff Zucker.
among other things.
They were so obsessed with him, they did us all the favor and gave him free $5 billion in free press coverage. And so now they're terrified. Their ratings are lower than Newsmax because they don't seem to get it. If you want to be a member of the cult, you got to be a full-fledged member of the cult.
Yep.
But you can't try and be a cult member and a journalist because then
They don't though.
but they had Donald Trump on a town hall. They had the front runner for the Republican Party on TV, and they debated him, and that was not good enough.
Yeah.
And so they're losing audience members for doing so.
Yeah.
Look, CNN, you want to be in the cult, be in the cult. If CNN reported real news, they would have tremendous ratings. Could you imagine if the entire time CNN existed, they were pushing back on Russiagate lies? They were saying like these reports are not true. There's no evidence to suggest it. Then people would be watching them.
And all they
They'd
had
be
to
competing
do-
with Fox News.
All they had to do was tell the truth, right? Like you could tell an unbiased, true, like factual story. The way that Donald Trump was covered for his entire presidency, once he got into office, if you covered any other president in the same way with that much negative press, you're going to have a population that believes that he is evil because the average person doesn't spend the time necessary, and they shouldn't. Honestly, they should go out and do things with their lives and live their lives.
Yeah.
But they don't spend the time necessary to really dig down and be like, well, this isn't true that they said, and that isn't true. There's so many people that still to this day believe that Donald Trump, the very fine people lie about the Unite the Right rally, the way that he was talking about it. There's still people that believe that. And that's probably what your average low information voter thinks.
I want to read for everybody this Wired article on Pete Buttigieg, titled "Pete Buttigieg loves God, beer, and his electric Mustang." Sure, the U.S. Secretary of Transportation has thoughts on building bridges, but infrastructure occupies just a sliver of his voluminous mind.
God.
This is, I'm going to read this for you so you can understand the depravity of the American corporate press. And when Michael Malice says the corporate press is the enemy of the people, you'll understand why after I read you 2 paragraphs. I hope you guys are ready, and please don't be mad at me for having to read this to you. You need to hear it. The curious mind of Pete Buttigieg holds much of its functionality in reserve, even as he discusses railroads and airlines down to the pointless data that is his current stock in trade. The U.S. Secretary of Transportation comes off like a Mensa black card holder who might have a secret go habit or a 3-second Rubik's Cube solution or a knack for supplying, off the top of his head, the day of the week for a random date in 1404, along with a non-condescending history of the Julian and Gregorian calendars. As Secretary Buttigieg and I talk in his under-furnished corner office one afternoon in early spring, I slowly became aware that his cabinet job requires only a modest portion of his cognitive powers. Other mental faculties, no kidding, are apportioned to the Iliad, Puritan historiography, and Nosgard's Spring, though not in the original Norwegian. Fortunately, he was willing to devote yet another apse in his cathedral mind to making his ideas about three mighty themes: neoliberalism, masculinity, and Christianity intelligible to me.
He is being worshipped as if he is holy.
Literally.
That's exactly what it is. It's like that's the way that you'd approach like a cardinal, or like that's the way a Catholic would approach a cardinal or Seamus, right?
Well, in what way?
Well, like
saying all these nice things.
Well, to be so,
But
depends on the cardinal, but no.
When
I mean, there's a respect that's due to authority figures, but this is obviously like the media just trying to worship somebody because he's their guy, right?
But it's to me, it comes off as it's like the religious aspect. They're saying that he's a pure, holy representation of their religion.
I think they're trying to date him.
Yeah, I think they're in love with him.
When I saw this
thirsty.
When I saw the excerpts posted on Twitter, I thought I was reading Babylon Bee or The Onion. Like, to say that he's what did they say? He was willing to devote yet another apse in his cathedral mind to make these themes intelligible to me. I'm like, that's not real, is it?
None of it was realistic. This is just like, they just said that this is what it's like. This is what he seems like. That he seems like he'd have a Mensa card. He seems like he'd have. None of it's actually real. It's just the biggest puff piece.
Are they trying to prop him up for 2024?
I hope not.
Who do they have? The Democrats have anybody?
Actually, you know what? They should do that, because then he will not do so well. Yeah.
I strongly believe that it's the LGBTQAI plus religion, and he is looked at as holy.
No, he's not. They hate him.
Well, no,
he is a cis white man.
Yeah, the real devout do, but the loosely devout, like the people that would be in the media, not the people that are like the theorists that are writing the books and stuff, but the initiated, but not the thought leaders. They're the ones that would be like, oh, Pete Buttigieg, he's a member of the LGBT community. We want to put him in a position where we want to have him in this good light because he's an authority, etc. So
here you go, Buttigieg, whose father was a renowned Marxist scholar.
He's the guy. Pete Buttigieg's father. Listen, Pete Buttigieg's father is the guy that translated Antonio Gramsci's prison notebooks, which outlined cultural Marxism in its entirety. The idea that Marxists needed to infiltrate the Western countries in media and in the culture before getting into the government. That was all Antonio Gramsci, written about in the 1920s when he was in an Italian prison. The guy was an Albanian communist. He's the guy that, and Buttigieg's father was the guy that translated it all. He's a total Marxist. They're all commies everywhere.
So is this like a Young Avengers kind of thing where the Marxists we got to get his kid?
Well, it's also interesting. Like, they do this right often, and I can't remember who said this initially, but Aaron McIntyre says this. They like to skin your religion alive and then like wear its skin as a suit. And so this whole idea that Pete Buttigieg is this devout religious man when he's promoting homosexuality, and he's a Christian who cares a lot about God. Well, it's interesting. In one of the debates, he referenced that like oppressing the poor and defrauding workers are very serious sins. And it's true that those are among 4 sins that are listed as sins that cry out to heaven for vengeance. And one of those other 4 is something that Pete Buttigieg is very proud of doing, is all I'll say.
Mm-hmm. Because, I think it's fair to say in any context, they take the religion. I think it was Tucker Carlson. Who was he talking about? Remember Tucker Carlson said they're not a religion anymore. They're not even Christian.
It's like I think Episcopalians probably. Yeah.
But the point is, consistently arguing
Shots
that
fired.
What they're doing is in line with what the Bible says. For whatever reason, they decide that it's in line with what the Bible says.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people who have done that for a very long time.
For sure, but they, I mean,
I'm not only
denying,
referring to the left.
No, I get what you're saying. And I wouldn't disagree with that at all. And political leaders for all of history have tried to use religion as a skin suit, so to speak, right? We're going to hollow out the actual norms and values, but we're going to take the parts of it that we like and we're going to, promote those and then try to use this veneer of religiosity to suggest that we're devout and serious people who care about morality to the public. I mean, do you think Pete Buttigieg cares a whole lot about morality? Do you think he's deeply concerned? Do you think he's like a really good guy who stays up late at night thinking about real moral problems and how to solve them?
I don't think he thinks about any of the stuff we talk about.
No.
I think he was offered a do-nothing job. They said, drop out of the race and endorse Biden, and we'll give you a cushy job. You'll get paid. You got to do anything. And he's like, sounds good to me. And then they appoint him transportation secretary, and then the train blows up, and they're like, where's Buttigieg? And he's like, he gets a phone call. It's like, it says White House on his phone, and he's like, yeah. And they're like, where you at? And he's like,
Too busy
"I'm at
trying
home.
to breastfeed my new kid.
I'm watching reruns of X-Files, and they're like, you need to come in because everyone's mad. And he's like, you told me I didn't have to do any work. Like, oh well, you gotta put on the hard hat and come out here for a little bit. That's what he did.
Wear the
vest,
orange vest. Yeah.
How many
walk around.
diehard Buttigieg supporters you think there are in the MMA or UFC?
I don't know. Probably slim to none.
All right, well, interesting. Okay, there are
there
woke
might be
people, but
one.
not that woke. Maybe.
So there might be one.
Yeah, there might be
one.
The journalists probably all love him.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I wonder if something like this exists, this article, because they need to lay on the gravitas right now. They're in desperate need of a candidate for 2024. They have no one. They tried Buttigieg last time. Clearly does not work. So instead of doing a long storied career with articles popping up saying good things, they cram it all into one. He's a Mensa genius who graces me because they need something. I mean, who are they going to run? Biden? I don't even know if Biden's going to be around. I'm not trying to be mean, but you know,
seriously.
like he's well past. How old is he right now? 79?
Yeah,
I think he's at like
80, 81 maybe.
Is he
I think
81?
he's like 81, yeah.
Let's take a look at Joe
No,
Biden.
Joe Biden now is 79. He'll be 80. He'll be like 83.
80.
He's 80?
80 years old.
80
wow.
years old. Yeah, November 20th, 1840.
So he's almost 81.
40.
I did say 18 and I said November 20th, 1942.
Yeah.
1842.
You know what? I'm going to be honest. Here's the thing. This Pete Buttigieg headline, loves God, I mean, doesn't keep the commandments. Beer, maybe Bud Light. Electric Mustang. That's got to be the lamest Mustang I ever heard of.
Yeah. True.
The whole thing is just
I just
lame.
fact-checked that entire article.
the
voluminous mind.
the reason they're doing that is
Voluminous?
what?
How do you pronounce that? Voluminous?
Voluminous?
Voluminous.
Yeah, there's a lot of it means big.
Yes, I know. Voluminous mind.
I feel like that the whole thing is just, a continuation of the propaganda that the government now is just shoving down people's throats. I really think a lot changed after the NDA was signed that allowed the government to propagandize people. I mean, it was the perfect time with social media being, in everyone's pocket right about that time. Everyone on social media, everyone had a cell phone by then. And I think that most people that have the normie opinions, unfortunately, they've unwittingly been completely propagandized by the most sophisticated propaganda apparatus ever invented. It's literally people that choose to be propagandized. They find their tribes, the people that they tend to align with most, and then they're just shoved the same, stories that basically give them the dopamine hit that they're looking for all the time.
Yeah. Just constant reaffirmation of the things you believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're done. We solved all the problems. Whenever there's ever a quiet moment on the show, it's like, well, that's it. We've solved everything.
We did fix it.
We've fixed everything. We've got nothing left to talk about but Pete Buttigieg and that guy who stole those ladies' clothes.
I think we should talk about the fact that Barack Obama knew about the Steele dossier being Clinton garbage. And
Yes, tell us more about that.
Well, I mean, Barack Obama did know.
By the way, I thought you were going to say Barack Obama knew that this guy was stealing luggage and wearing women's clothing.
He might have known about that too. But Barack
tell
Obama
anyone.
knew that the Steele
it on
dossier
the
was
deal.
crap.
Bring me some clothes.
He was sending the DOJ to hassle President Trump before he was in office, and then once President Trump was in office, the DOJ continued to investigate, all based on all phony charges. They should all go to jail. They should all be tried. We can talk about that all night long.
Yeah. What do you guys think is going to happen next year? They're saying Ron DeSantis is going to announce he's running for office next week.
I think Ron DeSantis needs to worry about finishing his job in Florida. He started a lot of things there, with the Disney, the illegal immigration. You need to finish what you start, man. You got unfinished business over in Florida. It's not his time either.
He's termed out though, isn't he?
Is he?
I think
he just.
what is he on? Like you get 2 terms.
Yeah, he
is
gets
that
8
right?
years, right?
Is it 8 years?
I think so.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I'm looking it up. Let's see. You can be elected every 4 years. and you're not allowed to serve consecutive terms. Blah blah blah. So what does that mean? There's a term limit. I don't know. Every 4 years, there's no lifetime limit on the number of times he or she may be elected. Oh, okay. So no, that's not true. No, yeah, two consecutive term limit.
Oh man.
So he's got one more, and he just got elected last. It was last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so he's got 4 more years.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of work to do. I think he's doing a great job. There was a list from his team about all of the policies he's passed, and it's just like slam dunk after slam dunk. So.
Yeah, well, with the term limit thing, I mean, one problem I have with that is the scumbag politicians are basically all the same, and there's a lot of them, so I don't know how much term limits really help there. But when you get someone who's actually good, which is so remarkably rare, they end up getting term limited out, and then they can't keep serving. So,
term limits should be on the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
So if you're appointed, FBI, head of FBI, or if you're in CIA or whatever, any of the bureaucracy positions should have 8 years or whatever. Then you have to get out because the bureaucracy is really where the administrative state has all of its power. It makes rules that have the effect of law without actually being voted on by the Congress or by the Senate or anything. So it's totally independent lawmaking. So I think that the bureaucracy is our biggest problem.
Marjorie Taylor Greene filed to impeach Joe Biden again today.
I fully back this.
By the way, can we just pull up the DeSantis? I want to ask you a few more questions. We'll pull up the DeSantis thread a little bit because he had.
Oh, do it.
Yeah, no. I just want to ask you. So I think I mostly agree with you, right? Like I like what DeSantis is doing in Florida, and we were talking to Don Jr. about this yesterday. I would like to see Trump go back into the Oval Office. I think it'd be incredible if he's able to do so and just go scorched earth on the deep state and all the people that attacked him. Do you think, how would you feel about like a DeSantis Trump ticket if something like that were possible? Do you think that DeSantis should strictly stay in Florida if there was an opportunity for him and Trump to work together? Would you be in favor of that?
I'd definitely be in favor of it if there was that opportunity, but you could tell that DeSantis doesn't want to take a back seat. He feels like entitled, like he's America's governor right now. Like he's not ready for the national stage. Donald Trump will walk circles around him in a political debate. So, I think Carrie Lake would be a great, vice president candidate for Trump. She's a very smart, intellectual lady. So I think that would be the right candidate. I think, we still got unfinished business in Florida. We need to, all the policies that he's doing, he needs to finish that. And, we need Trump back in office. Obviously, his policies worked and, inflation was at an all-time low. Our economy was booming. Our borders were secure. America was first. And, I think that DeSantis is controlled opposition. I think he is.
Really?
I do think he is, yeah.
But he's doing such good things. You know what I mean? It's like you're getting all these things that you want in Florida. If it's controlled opposition, they're just giving us everything we want.
Maybe,
but is it it's to earn the trust of the people so that when he runs, people believe it?
Could be it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I just think Trump's the guy for it now.
I definitely
DeSantis
agree with that.
Maybe next time around.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that. It's a complicated one, but I lean in that direction. And I think that we were talking about this yesterday. Trump, he eats every politician he's on stage with alive. Like it's impossible to come out of an interaction with him looking good. It almost never happens if you're arguing.
I don't think
I would hate to see him go up against DeSantis because I do think DeSantis is doing great things in Florida, and I do think Trump would absolutely shred him if the two of them got on stage together.
I think Trump did not do that well against Biden.
Well, he struggled with that because Biden because here's the thing. Biden is a sad old man with dementia. So you don't shred him the way you shred other politicians. You just let him talk. Trump didn't do that, and that was his biggest mistake in those debates. He should have just let Biden talk, but he didn't. He kept interrupting him. Well, it didn't go well for him because if you just let Biden talk, he ends up sounding like an idiot all by himself.
Here's also 2-on-1, If Chris Wallace was throwing softballs to Biden, then he's giving him all the tough questions to Trump.
Yeah.
I think he was tag
That's been that way since the Mitt Romney and Barack Obama debate when Romney said something true and then the moderator corrected Romney.
That's false.
It's false, but no, he was right. Moderators have been sticking their nose in for the better part of a decade.
I think one of the issues though is that when you've got someone like Jeb Bush and Trump's roasting him, it's funny.
Yes.
When Joe Biden gets roasted, it's sad.
Well, it's kind of funny too, but the difference is when Joe Biden is on stage with you and just allowing him to speak is going to make him look dumber than any insult you could throw at him, then you just got to let the guy speak.
It's like the Babylon Bee competing with reality. It's tough.
Exactly. Exactly. No, but that's the actual, that's a great way of putting it. That's the actual approach when you're talking with Joe Biden. With Hillary Clinton, the moderators in those debates were also in Hillary's favor and on her side, and they were trying to gang up on Trump, but he smoked her. He smoked her. It was a thing to behold, and we just didn't see it as well with Biden because I think there's a different strategy needed there. But I also think at that time, with everything the deep state was doing and all the insane impeachment trials, you can't blame him for having been thrown off his A game.
And I do want to say, too, the Babylon Bee often does write fact-based headlines. And I'm not exaggerating. They'll write something where the story will be, politician signs bad policy, and then they'll write the story, but in a context mocking what they did. So it's still technically the truth, Like, it's hard to think of an example on top of my head, but they'll write something like, politician signs a bill that every Americans hate. And it's like, well, they did. Like, that literally happened, and you're making fun of it, but you're telling us the truth about what happened. They do that a lot. And then not to mention, they have that spreadsheet of all the predictions they've made that have come true. Or I should say all the satirical articles they've written that have turned out to be, that have come true eventually.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Dude, I mean, it happens. Well, look, we don't have news these days, only reruns, right? It's just the same cycles keep appearing over and over and over again. So it's hard not to predict things.
Look, I went to a diner today, and they were playing, what's that song? Sugar Ray, Someday? Someday when my life has passed me by. And I heard it, and then I said to everybody, I was like, do you know how old this song is? What is it, like 1994 or something? I'm like, that would be like being a kid as a millennial, and you go to a restaurant and they're blasting music from the early 60s. To us, that sounds kind of like a weird thing, like 60s music blasting. We play contemporary music and maybe some 80s. 60s was like the oldies. Now, you go to a restaurant, you go somewhere, and they're playing music from the 90s as if it's like modern music. And then we were talking about how you can look at furniture, you can look at appliances and know what decade it's from. Not modern stuff.
Interesting. What, after 2010 or something?
After the 2000s. Like late 90s and on, time just froze.
I will say there was a kind of unique aesthetic in the early 2000s where everything was kind of bubbly and curvy. It was this weird little post-90s aesthetic that existed for a little while. But after that, I think everything got this combination of like straight edge with some slight curve to it, and it's pretty much stayed there.
Like, is that when the AI took over, or the aliens or something?
Well, hold on, let me look at.
You're checking to see when the aliens took over?
Yeah. I'm Googling. I'm going to see if Snope has an answer.
It's 2012. It's 2012, the end of the Aztec calendar, I think it was.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that's just when we were only programmed by the simulation to go this far.
You notice that's when like, what was it? I think over half people on Earth
market saturation.
Had a what?
It was market saturation. Basically, market saturation of cell phones was like end of 2012, beginning of 2013, and that coincided with, if everyone remembers, December 2012 was when the Mayans predicted that there would be the beginning of a new era, not the end of the
awakening.
World. Right.
They believed that everybody would be able to understand each other's thoughts.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
I was told that like in the early 2000s or whatever, they're like, everyone's going to be psychic, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then I looked back on it and I was like, Twitter. That's why Elon wanted it. They're fighting over the Genesis device, the Nexus device.
Wow.
Let's go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, become a member at timcast.com. We're going to have a members-only uncensored show coming up for you at about 10 p.m.
It's going to be fun.
Oh, this one's going to get dark, I guess, because the Culture War episode for tomorrow has been canceled, and we'll explain why in the members-only show where we talk about things that we don't say on YouTube. David Toronto says, Colby, destroy Leon Scott.
I will, my brother, for God and country and, the Trump movement. I'm going to drop MAGA bombs on this dude's face and bring this title back to America where it belongs.
Yee.
Hell yeah.
S.A. Federale says, I think you're too hard on Snowden. Greenwald and Poitras have maintained they got specific instructions not to indiscriminately publish or jeopardize anyone active. What you say about Snowden's trove is more true for Manning. It's true for Manning, but the thing about Snowden is that I believe he had an interview with, it might have been Colbert or John Oliver, I'm not sure, where he admitted to not actually going through the files, and he did not know what was in the files he was releasing. So I'm not saying he was right or wrong. I'm saying Julian Assange is a journalist. People send him information, he publishes it. Whistleblowers come to him, he publishes it. That's it. They're trying to accuse him of colluding or conspiring or something even though he's not an American. Edward Snowden is a leaker. He took a trove of documents and he leaked them to journalists. I am not giving a moral prescription or anything. I'm just saying that's what he did. There's a difference. So you can be happy with what he did. I think he revealed a lot of really important stuff about how they're spying on us and lying and the X-key score, all those things. Very, very important information that was revealed. But I think understanding the distinction between leaking and being a journalist, it's an important thing. Again, if you want to pardon Snowden, I'm not saying you shouldn't. I think he should be pardoned. But my attitude is more like, yeah, okay, no, I get it. Julian Assange, absolutely be pardoned. All right, Wayback says, yo, Colby, when is your next fight? Leon doesn't seem to want to fight you.
Yeah, it's, I've been talking to the UFC. He turned down a home date in London, UK, where he's from. He doesn't believe in his people and he doesn't believe they deserve a pay-per-view world title fight. So now it's looking like August or September, the fight's going to go down. He's got nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. So this fight's going to happen 100% for the undisputed UFC world title. And it's going to be big. What does
it look like for you in between these big fights? Just training all the time?
Yeah, my lifestyle, I'm training 24/7, 365. I'm training twice a day, 6 days a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
How does that work though? Are you sparring with people and fighting?
Usually we don't do the sparring to like training camps, just because it's a lot of wear and tear on the body when you're sparring hard, like fighting someone physically. So, usually I'm just training more like techniques, like working on my punches, working on my kicks, working on my wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and just making sure my techniques are world class.
Are there, I'm sure a lot of people who are big fans and know the stuff better than I do probably already know, but are there specific martial arts or styles that you prioritize or that fighters tend to prioritize?
Yeah, I think the most
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or something.
Yeah, like I would say American wrestling. That's the most prevalent. Really? Yeah, martial art. That's the best martial art because if you're a wrestler, like it's already in someone's head. Like I don't want to go to the ground. So even the best strikers, they don't want to do too much because they don't want to get taken to the ground and get their face punched in. And then the jiu-jitsu fighters are like, oh, how are we going to get the rest of the ground? We're just going to get punched in the face. So
oh wow,
American wrestling. That's
American wrestling.
Best way for martial arts.
Wow, that's cool. All right, we'll grab some more super chats. Raymond Field says, what's the GoFundMe for the pregnant lady? I think her name was, what was it, Sarah Comrie? Was that it?
It's something Comrie, Comrie.
Yeah. The line says, congrats on having the next UFC welterweight champion on, Tim. Much love, Chaos. Much love, Chaos.
Much love, brother. Appreciate the support and more congratulations to me to get to be on, the Timcast podcast. You guys, one of the smartest people alive, so it's an honor to hear him talk and get some knowledge from him today.
Well, we'll have a lot of fun in the members only for sure. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, Tim, I wanted to do a banger of a super chat. I wanted to do real hard work, but owie, ouchie, wawa.
He's quoting my video.
Seamus, we synced up, bro. We synced up.
Thank you. That is a reference to the newest cartoon we put up on men getting their periods. If you guys want to go over to Freedom Tunes and check that out, it was a fun one.
Last night after we wrapped the show, Seamus is like, Tim, I need you to
we
pretend
weren't
like
able
you're having
to
your period.
we weren't able the animation got done too late. We weren't able
we
to get
couldn't
the
do it?
voice. I know we couldn't splice
that's
the voice.
what I know.
Tim was originally did the voice, but we ran late on production and couldn't get it in.
Seamus only lets me voice Dr. Fauci.
No, we have a couple ideas for things that we're
only Dr. Fauci. Oh, let's grab some more. Joe Mallet says, BJJ purple belt. Can't understand this. I'm often in rougher chokes. Also, holding a choke for 15 minutes is exhausting. He wasn't holding it for 15 minutes. Is that what they were claiming? It was 15 minutes?
I thought I read that somewhere.
That didn't seem to make, I don't know. What do you think? Does that make sense? Holding someone down for 15 minutes?
That does not make any sense in a choke. Yeah. Maybe 15 seconds.
Yeah.
15 minutes, no way.
And in the video, you can see he's got it's like a fairly tight choke.
Yeah.
So and then you see him get up and they flip the guy over. They put him in the recovery position. The dude's moving. Look, I'm not saying anybody did anything perfect. My view is if you're like a big dude and you don't know any technique and someone is threatening to kill people and you just decide you're going to hit them because you got to stop them, they're like getting aggressive and you're going to try and subdue them and you subdue them in the only way you know how and it results in seriously hurting them. I'm like, well, I'm not going to blame the victims.
Right.
Like if the only method you have is what you have and you try, it's not your fault. I don't know. I think it's ridiculous.
Have you ever seen like anything like this happen where it's been a serious injury beyond the fact, like just beyond like, you said earlier they're out and they're up again. Have you seen it ever take longer than that? Like where they're out and they're really messed up for like, they have serious brain damage, etc.
No, I've never seen that. Usually when they're out and go unconscious, like 10, 20 seconds later, they'll wake up and they'll be completely fine. So that's what tells me there's definitely some foul play going on, and the guy had some things in his system that we don't know about, and we need to get some more facts about it before we start pointing the fingers.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Legama says, as neo-Maoists, the woke want us to be scared not to join their cultural revolutionary anarcho-tyranny. Hence, everyone there is blamed for not stopping the Marine. Neely, BLM, drag queens, Antifa, and all are engaged in the sacred dismantling of the unjust society.
It is neo-Maoism. That is an
exactly
astute
what it is.
observation.
Yeah, because it includes that whole the struggle sessions.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're struggling my girl Taylor Swift today.
Yeah. I saw
What were they really?
Yeah.
What happened?
She's dating some dude that made bad jokes, and the lefty Swifties are all like, Taylor, you can't. I'm like, shut up and leave Taylor
The
alone.
lefty Swifties.
Oh my god.
Which is probably like 99%.
But she hates Trump, doesn't she? She had that viral video where she was like,
But it's never. It's never enough.
No,
It's never enough.
what do you mean?
It's never enough.
No, I'm saying she had a video from a long time ago where she was saying that she wanted to speak out against Trump or something like that.
No, I know, but I'm saying
Or it kind of sounded like she was trying to speak up in favor of Trump.
like you can be on the left, but if they find one little thing that's out of whack, if you're not
She-
perfectly obedient to the cause, then
She said
you're the
that-
devil. You're an evil person.
She said something like, he might lose, but at least I can say I tried.
Did she really?
Yeah, and it implied like she wanted to speak up in support of Trump.
Wow, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, I don't know. You got to pull up the video because I'm like, it seemed like people were saying she hated Trump. She was anti-Trump, and conservatives will still support her and ignore this. But then she said something like, he could still lose, but at least I tried, or something like that. I'm like, it sounds like she's saying she wants to speak up to support him, and that if he loses, well, at least she tried to get him elected.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, are you looking it up?
Well, here's the thing. The first article I found was Taylor Swift is 100% right about Donald Trump from CNN. So I
When's it
assume
from?
she was against 2018.
It was a viral clip that was going around recently.
I'm just curious what like insightful public policy prescriptions Taylor Swift had about what Donald Trump was doing in the Oval Office. So I want to read through this.
Gabriel Lopez says crime, open borders, and inflation aren't problems that progressives are trying to solve, but weapons they are wielding. Oren McIntyre.
So I just went at the beginning of this article. When pop megastar Taylor Swift criticized GOP candidates in her home state of Tennessee and urged people to vote for their Democratic opponents, Donald Trump responded that he now liked Taylor Swift's music, quote, about 25% less, unquote.
Only 25%
I know.
less.
He's an honest man. He's like, look, 75% I still do enjoy it. I really do.
If he's like, that one where you're saying, you need to calm down, I really enjoy it.
Quite frankly, our song is a slamming screen door. I do feel that way.
Cosmic Surgeon says, I shared Tim's tweet on Patriots.win and it's been hot all day. Currently 1,606 upvotes. Thanks, Tim.
Nice.
Well, it was kind of a derivative of that John Dye joke. I think his name is it John Dye? I hope I'm not getting his name wrong.
It is John Dye, yeah.
Okay. Where he said, if Lizzo is so beautiful, how come women get offended when I say you look like Lizzo? And then I tweeted, start complimenting liberal women by saying they look like Dylan Mulvaney or Lizzo.
Well, there's the thing. I saw this forever ago on Twitter, and it was killing me. This guy was saying, I tell left-wing women on Twitter, I just DM them and say them that they're like a very beautiful trans woman, and they get upset. Why would they get upset?
Right. Like the thing is with
be fine with it.
But
It's a compliment.
The Lizzo joke hits the nail on the head with the hammer.
Yeah.
They're lying.
Yeah.
They're doing this thing where they're like, it's like a trope from old movies where they're like, oh no, you're pretty. No, I'm ugly. No, you're pretty. And like, they don't really think it. Mm-hmm. They're just saying these things.
Yeah, it feels like a Monty Python bit almost.
All right.
It does.
So we did talk about this, but Paul Tascalo says, ask Colby if he's aware that under certain state laws, his hands are considered deadly weapons. As a trained professional fighter, does that make you worry about protecting yourself?
Yeah, definitely. That's why I kind of keep myself out of a lot of situations. I don't go to bars. I don't go to a lot of public places. I live a very sheltered life. I go to the gym and I go home, and I don't really engage in going out in public too much because I already know people are going to try and get a reaction out of me because they know I'm a professional fighter and they know if I touch them, they can just sue me. So
yeah,
I never put myself in those positions.
Try and get some fame or something out of it, some PR stunt.
Some fame or just
crazy.
Suing because they know we're lethal weapons, and if we touch them, they know we make good money, so they could just come after us.
There's this old viral video from like 20 years ago where there's a professional fighter backing away with his hands up, and these like 4 guys are like yelling at him and waving their fingers, and then they run at him, and then he just puts his fists up and he goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then he just as he's backing away and they're charging him, and they all just go down, and then he puts his hands up like, nah, like stop, dude. It was an awesome video. People might know which one I'm talking about. Wow. It's funny to watch. Like the dude who knows how to fight is begging you not to fight him.
Yep.
You don't want to go there, man.
Yeah.
All right, I'll grab some more.
Yeah, if people realize exactly how tiring getting into fights, like after two rounds of rolling, I'm done. My cardio's bad, and like I said, I'm a white belt, so it's not like I'm some kind of fighter or anything. But man, that stuff just tuckers you right out.
Mark Zuckerberg could beat you up.
Absolutely.
You saw that?
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah, he won. Didn't he win like a gold or something like that?
Oh, he
They
paid
definitely
him
paid
to,
off his opponent.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you kidding me?
Come on,
when
he has a little freaking pretzel, like that's tiny.
No,
but
no,
he is a
hold
robot.
on.
But he is a robot,
right.
so maybe he has those
So
steel bones.
like
That's
Data.
on that geek.
There's 2 ways I think he won. There's 3 ways. The most likely way is that as he was grabbing them to throw them, he had a wad of cash in his hand that he was putting into their hand. And then they go, whoa. The second is that he is an android. And so he just went, grabbed them, and they're like, I can't move. And the third was he trained really, really hard, and then,
Yeah, I don't think so. The last one seems ridiculous.
The thing is, like, when you're loaded like that and you actually have that kind of time, like, I get why, like, Zuckerberg is, spending the time doing jujitsu, and why, like, what's his name? Bezos is, like, all jacked now. Like, you got no excuse to be out of shape and be a doughboy. Get out and do something. You got all the money in the world.
Yeah,
do
no,
something.
I do think that Zuckerberg probably trained and probably won. Like we're not acting like he entered the like UFC or something and beat the best in the world.
Wouldn't that be hilarious though? If he paid the UFC off, he's like, "You guys gotta let me win."
Oh, he's been talking about it with him, man. He's been like buying out, like he'll go to UFC events and he'll buy out like the crowd and like show, and he's trying to get it like on Metaverse or something.
No way!
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
No way!
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. Like, do you think can you imagine what metaverse fights would be like?
No, we should get. You know how they do those celebrity fights?
Yeah.
Like they do the YouTuber boxing matches.
matches.
But then, what about like Logan Paul versus Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! What about just everyone who's been banned and Mark Zuckerberg? You just got to get into a ring with everyone who's
But
banned
look.
from Facebook. Him and Trump are in the ring together.
Like the story about Zuckerberg winning that fight. I don't think it was a super high level fight. I think it was like a very low level fight. He probably won.
Well, it wasn't a fight. Let's
It
get
was-
let's get
yeah,
the terms right. It was
right.
a jiu-jitsu match.
What
There's a
happened
difference
was-
between getting punched in the face in a fight and doing some rolling in jiu-jitsu.
And getting a point or whatever.
So what
Yeah,
happened
getting
was
points and criteria.
his younger sister called him a mean name, and then he hit her.
I don't know though. I think
no,
Mark
I'm
Zuckerberg
sorry.
could probably beat you up, Seamus.
Mark Zuckerberg? You think Zuckerberg and I?
Yeah.
Tim, I don't even know if I can do this show anymore. That was the most
Like I'm
disrespectful
trying to be
thing I've
I'm
ever
trying to
heard
be
in my life.
reasonable. I'm trying to be reasonable though because like I don't train fighting and neither do you, but Phil does and,
And
obviously
yet
Colby is
you
the best.
pointed at me and not yourself.
No, but what I'm saying is like to be fair, I think it's reasonable to argue that a person who is on camera training in any kind of like I'm going to give him credit that he could probably
I just
take
don't know
me.
if I
I think
believe
Mark Zuckerberg
it.
could beat me up.
I just don't know if I believe that he's
think
actually
so.
training.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. No.
Like I'm not I
He's
don't-
the expert, Tim.
Yeah.
Trust the experts.
Here's the physical training I have. I have running and jumping off of things. I can climb really well from skating. I can like probably do parkour and stuff. So that gives me some advantage in a fight.
Oh, yeah.
But if Zuckerberg's been training in grappling, I think I wouldn't know what to do. I don't have that training, you know?
I'm doomed. I got a sub-second draw, though. That's it.
I don't think he's been training. I think it's a photo op. I think he's just trying to
Yeah.
fool people like, oh, I'm this tough guy, you know, because everybody knows he's a little nerd. He ain't tough. There's nothing tough about him, man. He's afraid of shadows out there. So.
What about Bezos though? You see the picture of him? He's like all like working
He's
out.
all juiced up on steroids. Everybody knows that. You can't have that type of transformation. It's obvious. That's not.
Yeah.
It's not funny. It's facts, dude.
That fast.
Yeah.
You 100%. Put some testosterone, HGH, Anavar, and all the other drugs. You know, the cocktail of drugs that people are doing with steroids these days.
Here's a question then. So you were saying like Bezos, he got too big too fast.
Based.
How long did I guess I didn't pay attention to that transformation. How quickly did this guy get jacked?
I don't know.
Within like a couple months.
Oh,
Was it a
wow.
couple months?
Yeah.
Yeah. for
Like the
sure.
same amount of time it took him to make like $1 billion. Real fast.
Let's grab some
He
more.
literally just bought a guy's muscles and implanted them into his body.
I mean, dude, science is.
People are doing that, yeah.
Or he's just working on the new genetic modification technology. There's Ford Fisher was tweeting about a documentary he did where people are injecting themselves with a gene therapy, an experimental gene therapy, outside of U.S. jurisdiction. I don't know the full details, but you guys can check it out. Ford Fisher on Twitter. He's got a YouTube channel too. And it's basically what these people do is they inject themselves. I'm probably getting it wrong, but it does something to deactivate fat production and increase muscle production. There's something about the mechanism by which we switch between fat production and muscle production causes some kind of aging. It's a very simple way of putting it.
Interesting.
And one guy's basically saying, I don't expect to starve anytime soon in modern society, so I'd rather have proper muscle regeneration, which makes you live longer. And so they're injecting themselves with this gene therapy to extend their lives. And they've been doing it for a while, apparently.
What you're describing sounds like trenbolone. I mean, it's like just like, you know, like if it suppresses fat and helps build muscle, that sounds like gear.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to a doctor here pretty soon because I'm in my 40s. I'm going to see if I can get some testosterone replacement or whatever.
I think we can all agree that Bill Gates has no excuse anymore for looking the way he does.
He doesn't.
Real.
Yeah.
Dude, it would be the greatest thing if we got like Bezos, Zuckerberg, Gates, Dorsey. Who else could we get?
Let's get Soros in there. Why
Well,
not?
he's too
a little-
old,
little
though. but,
old,
like,
I guess. Yeah.
I guess Bill Gates is too.
Yeah.
But I think it's funny how Bill Gates is telling everybody how unhealthy they are, and he's just like
looks so
very
gross.
out of shape. And yeah.
It's really wild, actually.
What do we got here? John Starling says, after a 15-hour day welding, watching Timcast with the next WW champ and favorite UFC fighter making my night. Hello from North Carolina, Colby.
Shout out to my man from North Carolina, man. Much love and respect, and God bless you.
Vindicated Dasha says, you say get out of the cities, but I'm the caretaker of a 90-year-old grandparent that refuses to leave, and it keeps us stuck no matter how much we want to leave. I hear you. And another good argument made to me was someone said that they got divorced through no choice of their own, and they can't leave their kids in the city. They need to be an influence for their kids. They can't leave. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. Like, I would never advocate someone abandon their children if they were stuck there because of laws. Just makes a really hard situation.
Yeah.
That's rough.
True.
It's true, you know. I mean, if you can get out, but it's not like the people around this table here are like unaware that people have, you know, serious problems in their life and serious issues with just picking up and leaving, you know.
Yeah.
Leon says, 1930s Germany, publicly declare support or else. That's what it was like, right?
Yeah. True, man.
That's crazy. Let's grab some more super chats. John Medeski says, Colby, these dudes never even been punched in the face before. Do your thing. Be like water, my friend.
He came here to fight all of us.
Yeah, I only beat up crybaby libs. I don't punch conservatives in the face. Especially, these are some of the biggest fighters in the world right here. They're fighting up against the establishment. They're fighting,
True.
you know,
Kind.
all the deck that's stacked against them. You know, so
You're too kind, man.
And I'm going to
you
push
guys
back.
are real fighters for real.
Ready to Rumble says, Tim has never been in a fight his whole life. He has ran away. I have been in many fights. I wouldn't say I've been in large amounts of fights, but I appeared on Tucker Carlson tonight specifically because when I was in Boston and an Antifa guy started swinging at me, I tightened my muscles, leaned in, and said, do it. And I filmed him as he kept trying to swing at me and make me flinch. And so they asked me to come on and talk about it. And I was like, look, man, if this Antifa guy, while I'm live streaming, wants to hit me, hit me. Like, it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to die. I'm not going to go to the hospital. I'll be sore maybe, depending on what, and then I'll have on camera this guy attacking me unprovoked. So make my day. You know, I like people rag on me because there's a video where a guy pulls my hat off and then I immediately turn around and threaten to knock all of his teeth out. And I'm like, you're making fun of me because I got really angry and overreacted. I'm like, if there was no police there, I probably would have gotten into a fight. So like, dude.
Don't put, like, you shouldn't put your hands on people. Like, don't take
I
people's hats and don't grab people and try and pick in fights like that. Don't do that. You
Well,
never know what's going to happen.
I was in Boston and I had this Antifa guy swinging at me and then stopping just short of the camera and then swatting at me. And I'm standing there and then I don't even know how long after, another guy walks up and grabs my hat and I'm surrounded by cops. And I'm just like already really angry and wanting to feel some kind of emotional satisfaction because I know I can't hit an Antifa guy. I'm not going to get into a fight while I'm on the ground. And this guy's trying to provoke
Yeah,
me.
that's what they
And then
want.
some dude puts his hands on me. And now I'm just like, I was pissed.
Yeah.
I was triggered. I was mad triggered. And I'm like surrounded by cops. And I'm just like, I'm not going to overreact. Like, I can't do anything.
That's what they want.
Yeah. So
I'm like-
they want a reaction from
Well, it's called mid-level violence. It's like when
Exactly.
I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you. The point of that is to get a reaction out of you, and there are things that they do that still counts as assault when they do it.
Yeah, that should be assault. Touching someone, invading their personal privacy. Like,
I think it
I mean,
is.
and,
What
but
can
you
you
have
do?
everything to lose. You have an empire. These guys are nobodies, and they have nothing to lose. So they have
Yeah.
everything to gain.
Yep. All right. We'll grab some more super chats. Amenthi says, I would give up my right to vote if it meant Ben Crump was disbarred and we never heard from him again. But that would be like you voting to make it so that he's disbarred. And that's a good vote. That's a great vote.
Very good trade.
All right. Self-made woman says, to cover all bases, does City Bike Karen have a timestamp for the bike? According to the New York Post, they reviewed the timestamp and confirmed it was from the moment.
Yeah, people.
That 1 minute before the video is when she took the bike out.
Yeah, and also people in chat, because people were asking, why did they blur the timestamp out? People in chat were saying it's so that random people on the internet don't know when she gets off shift or what her schedule is. Yeah.
And that's why the New York Post said they confirmed it without revealing the time. They don't want people to go find her job. Makes sense. Yep. Yeah. See, a better feature says on the receipt, why is the timestamp the only thing blacked out? Did she go back after the fact and rent the bike in order to fake it? What legit reason is there to redact the timestamp? She's leaving work and pregnant, and people are threatening her, so they don't want to reveal what her shifts are or whatever. But I mean, everybody still knows where she works.
Yeah.
This is a crazy world. Remember this all. I remember the first canceling. Do you remember the first canceling? The woman on Twitter was flying somewhere.
Oh my gosh,
And
yeah.
she tweeted a joke about AIDS, and then while she's in the air with no internet, the tweet's going viral like crazy. And when she lands, she finds out everyone in the world hates her. She's fired from her job, and she had no idea why. And she was making a woke joke. Wow. She said something like,
It won't happen to me because I'm white or something
she
like
said,
that.
yeah, like she said something like she hopes she doesn't get AIDS, but it won't happen because she's white. And she was trying to make a left-wing joke about how
White people see
about white
themselves.
privilege,
Yeah, yeah.
about how they see themselves unaffected and they're not part of the impoverished communities. It did not matter. The left doesn't have humor, so it's like, nope, that was just racist. And wake up call for this lady.
Well, it was a wake-up call for the world because that was kind of the first time that it happened. You know?
Ashley says the bike Karen is definitely a Democrat. She said, you're hurting my fetus.
Fetus, yeah.
Us conservative women call it what it is, a baby, even when we are growing them. I noticed that too. She said, you're hurting my fetus.
So weird.
Like, this is the problem. If these people intentionally want these things to happen, who are we to tell them they should not have them? Like, you know, if you tell me you want lower taxes, you know, Colby, and then you vote for it, and then you come back later and say you got lower taxes, I'd be like, oh, congratulations. If a liberal in the city says I want violent criminals out on the street, and then a violent criminal attacks them, am I going to be like, oh no, I'm not going to go to a guy who voted for lower taxes and be like, oh, you poor man, you got lower taxes. I'm like, well, you voted for it. I don't know what else to say, man. Like, but why? See, like that's what we're doing. We're assuming that they need our sympathy. If I don't know who she voted for, but it's a fair point about her calling it a fetus. If she did vote for it, I mean, we should be saying congratulations to her.
Congrats. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm happy for you that you got what you wanted. You know,
Yeah, true.
me, I got some chickens.
Chickens, yeah.
You know, I wanted those chickens. They created more of themselves. I'm very happy that I have them. You wanted violent criminals to be released on the street. They are now, and you got that. We're all living our best lives.
Yeah.
Congratulations. But now they're raising money off it too. See, this is the thing I'm concerned about. The Daniel Penny thing I get. This is a guy who people are cheering for. He's a hero. He's a Marine. He's trying to stop someone who is very, very violent. This woman, I don't know for sure yet, but I am concerned about someone being a lib who votes for these policies, gets victimized by them, and then comes to us and says, now give us money. Like, that's where I'm like,
Yeah.
Fishy.
I don't want to be doing that. I don't want to fall for that. Tom Pant says, no, stop with this. Do whatever you want, but don't go after kids and don't break laws. That's why we are where we are today. Objective morality and enforcement thereof is required to preserve a stable culture. Yeah, I agree mostly. I've talked about this quite a bit, that it doesn't matter what we think the principles are or aren't, because we have our own moral lines. Trying to simplify the idea, both the left and the right will argue that parents have a right to choose what's best for their kids. Except when it comes to like this trans kids thing splits it, where the left says the government has no right to tell me what to do with my children if they're aborting them, but the government has a right to intervene to take a child from his parents if the child is trans. So it's like the principle is irrelevant. You know what I mean? There's no, the morality there is strictly subjective morality of leftist tribal groups. A baby in the womb has no right to life and the government can't intervene, but a child outside the womb who wants to get sterilized, the government can seize and then without the parents' knowledge, sterilize. Mm-hmm. So like you can't, yeah.
It's almost like they just hate innocent life or something.
You know, I think they want there to be less people.
The left doesn't believe in innocence as well.
Mm-hmm. That's also true.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because they don't profess to believe in innocence, but on a deeper level, I think they do.
They don't believe in
because
innocence
they
of
hate
children.
It.
Yeah.
They hate it.
Yeah, they want the whole project of the left, that the LGBT stuff in schools and stuff is essentially just to destroy the innocence of children. That is really what, and this is, I'm an agnostic, so like me and Seamus aren't, like Seamus is the religious guy, so it's not like I'm like pumping out like some kind of, you know, religious take, but they're still evil. Like, so.
All right, if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Become a member at timcast.com because we got a fun members only show. Our guest for tomorrow morning canceled, and you're going to want to hear why, but we're not going to say on YouTube.
Literally not allowed to.
I think you are, but it's family. I'm going to keep it family friendly.
Fair enough.
Talking about medical procedures and stuff. We'll keep it for the members only, uncensored. So again, at timcast.com, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me personally at Timcast. Colby, do you want to shout anything out?
You know, just shout out to all the patriots out there holding down the line, man. We're getting stripped of our freedoms every day. So, you know, they're pushing the line farther and farther. They're coming for our children. They're coming for all our rights as citizens. So, you know, shout out to all the patriots out there holding the line.
Right on.
Awesome, man. Thank you for coming on and everything. My name's Seamus Coughlin. I'd like to shout out Freedom Tunes. I make cartoons. We released one today. It was referenced in the super chats that Tim was reading earlier. So I really think you guys will enjoy it if you go over there and watch it. Thank you very much. Freedom Tunes, youtube.com/Freedom Tunes.
I am Phil Labonte. I am Phil That Remains on Twitter. I am Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. We are available. You can check us out on Spotify, Apple Music, and Pandora, probably. YouTube as well.
And I am Serge.com. I'm watching Tim and Seamus throw paper airplanes at each other because that's how
He
professional
missed.
we keep it here. Yeah, he did miss.
He literally missed.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter. Let's argue. You know how it goes.
Right on. What am I doing? Oh, I got. We'll see you. We'll
Missing
see
me.
you all over at timcast.com in a few minutes. Thanks for hanging out.